while we're waiting for this, I can say to follow along tonight with documents. If you have a separate screen or whatnot, you can go to peace-man.ca /ATIP. I
Are you
guess I can
able to
put that
share the
in.
link?
Yeah, can you do that for me, Minnow? It's hard for me to get into the chat. Of course, it's going to be recorded. Here, are you sharing it or do you want me to share it here?
Would you want me to share something? I can share it. What would you
No,
like?
I got it. I got it.
Okay.
Can you share your screen, Dana? Is that possible?
Yeah, I'm usually on my laptop, but my laptop, whoops, I accidentally shared it in a reply, I think. No, there it is. Okay, good. Um, I can share it on the screen here. Let me just do this. Uh, uh, Okay, so it is this. Can you see that?
No.
Yes, perfect.
Oh, I can't see it. I just see you.
Hmm.
Can other people see a document?
Oh, I thought
Web page?
about the link. No, we don't see the document.
No, cannot see it.
Oh, okay. Let me
I
do
copied the
this
link
again.
and put it on another page.
Yeah, it's
The link's
just
in the,
because I'm on my cell. It's because I'm gonna try share screen again. It just didn't do it that time.
Okay.
where's this thing?
And please, everyone, remember I am on a satellite link that has a lot to do with it. There is a 2-second delay almost sometimes. Could try.
Have we got another minute? I just want to say one thing.
Okay.
Oh, for treason, uh, you know, Trudeau made Bob Ray UN ambassador because he had so many connections with communist China, and Bob Ray's brother-in-law was a Maoist, and he used to smuggle Chinese into Canada in the 70s. I know him myself, and I could go on. I have a huge long article about it.
There's connections, that's for sure. Thanks, Victor.
We all know that. Lots of connections. I'm gonna try this again. It didn't let me share my screen.
I wonder if I think I made you co-host. I could make you host. Let me see.
But he's running a cell phone, so maybe
No,
he can't share it.
it gives
He
it
needs a
gives me
notebook.
the option, but when I go to use it, it's not working. So don't worry about it. All you have to do is go to the website itself. And I know you guys are probably on your phones anyways, though, eh? Jane,
Yeah.
you could always pull up that ATIP page and um and cast it.
Okay, let me see. You put the link in there?
Yeah.
I don't see it. Second,
Links in the chat,
In the-
last thing, on the chat.
It's in the chat.
I'm looking in the
Yeah.
chat. Oh, okay, I see it. It doesn't link to, you just have to cut and paste it, I guess.
I guess it didn't.
Yeah, cut and paste.
Okay. Okay. Send the cookies. There it is. Okay, can you see it, everyone?
Perfect. And I can just tell you when to scroll down.
Okay,
I'll just get you to scroll down a little bit to where you start to see the boxes.
just a second.
Yeah.
Oops, a sec.
Basically, the beginning of that is all questions. But this is what I want to put the first page on to talk about. Okay, so now that we've got that ready, we'll do a little bit of an introduction here first, and then we'll get into it.
Did you want me to?
Do you want to say anything for Trudeau for treason first, or however you want to go at it? I'm ready.
Well, we invited you because we want to know what the issues are that you're raising, the exposure of corruption and the retaliation that's been waged towards you. And as well, maybe highlights of how you beat your convoy charges. Very much like there's many people here that would be very interested in both hearing both of those issues. So
Okay, and that's perfect. That's what I will talk about tonight.
okay.
So I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. My name is Dana Lee Melfi, for those that do not know. I was born in Ottawa, and I've lived in the Ottawa Valley. I grew up in the Ottawa Valley. I've traveled all of Canada just about, and really got to meet people from all over the world and all types of diversities in this country. And I know it was probably more expensive to travel my country before I traveled to other countries. But as a child, that's what I thought of, is that I'm not going to spend my time visiting other countries when I really want to see the vastness of this beautiful country. I worked in Ottawa for the beginning of my life, and I became a government contractor for various building contracts and things like that. I've worked at places like the War Museum, Parliament Hill, many government institutions, D&D buildings, all the buildings on Booth Street, like the laboratories, and many other places. And was always very trusted because of my work ethic and whatnot. So, you know, we like to learn and grow up with some kind of pride. But what happens when you see in the workplace things that are not right? Just things that are, you know, that that's wrong, but because of your position, you really can't say anything because, you know, it has to do with other people's lives. And what this has done is not only in our lives, but in our government house. This is what's happened, and it's called looking the other way. So over all of this time of our government going on and our lives getting better, and honestly, during my life, our life in Canada was really good if you applied yourself. And so when you apply yourself, you can have a good life in Canada. Up until about 15 years ago, I started to really see a lot of things change. And while I was working in the government, I could see a lot of corruption as well. And to fight against some of that corruption, I stopped working for some of these contractors and I started my own business and put my own bids in for government contracts and for contracts of contractors to the government. When this happened, we have places like Merck's. That's a contracting site for government contractors. And it's supposed to be a fair system, the reason why it was brought in. But I could see through various means that no matter what system that is being brought in, there's corruption. And we as citizens and as employees and stuff like that, if we just turn a blind eye all the time, it may help you, but it's not going to help people in the future. So I stood up against some of this. I put my businesses, my career on the line many times because I did not like to see this. When I became a government employee, I can remember walking down the hallway and seeing posters on the wall saying, you know, anti-bullying and stop the bullying and all of this stuff. But what happens if it's your actual employee, which is a government institution, is the bully on the employees? Is there any recourse? Can you actually say anything? So over time, I became somewhat of a lead in these positions, and people would come to me and say, listen, these working conditions, they're just not right, they're not fair, whatnot. And what I did was I stood up and I wrote a whistleblower document that took me quite a long time with supporting documents, and I put them in 2014. In 2014, by 2015, they still had not even recognized it. And I followed the path that was told to me. That is to your manager first, then to union, and then and go on from there, right up to the CEO of the Crown Corporation or the MP of Crown Corporations. So I followed all those paths and I put in grievances with our union, which was Unifor. And if you ask me, it was the biggest labor mistake Canadians ever made. Because you can see now in 2024 that even the head of that union, which was head for a long time, is disgraced with taking kickbacks and all of these other things. So, and this was the exact person I had to deal with when I was working, and it started to affect my health. I have other ailments that I've had for my entire life. People wonder what it is. I don't talk about my medical because it's really none of anybody's business. But I do have chronic pain, and it's because my shoulders dislocate on their own in daily life. I can't raise my arms above my shoulder without great pain or dislocation. So with that comes other things. When you wake up in the morning and you go to get out of bed and you can't move your arms because they've dislocated in the middle of the night, it messes with your psyche. I don't care what anybody says. So I ended up leaving work, and after 2 whistleblower papers that went through the whistleblower system, but you know who they ended up with? You know who checks or receives these whistleblower documents? The CEO of the Crown Corporation that I actually complained on. So they didn't go far, let's just tell you that much. And when I left work, I was given long-term disability. So for 2 years, my medical was paid. I was off work on what they had called stress leave, and I followed all of their medical paths. And I not only followed, but I obeyed, because PEBA, Public Employees Benefits Agency, had a lot to do with working with the union to either help you or not. And after 2 years, all of a sudden, one day I went to the dentist and my government insurance card did not work. I was not notified or anything, and I called in to the insurance company, and they told me that my insurance had been canceled 6 months before this date. And I asked by who, and they said, well, your Crown Corporation withdrew, and that's the word they used, withdrew your medical. This is while I'm on sick leave. So the union wouldn't take my grievances or anything, and this Diaz person, which was the CEO, Grand Poobah, said the only thing that you could do is sue them. So here we are 7 years later, and I'm still suing them. They've tried to throw out my case. They've put applications into the courts to have my case dismissed and worked on internally within the government and things like this. Last November, the courts struck down their application and said, no, this case goes on. And of course, they appeal that decision. So it's coming up in November again. And we'll see if this court case still goes on. Of course it will, because the judge that sided with me last year, his paper on what he wrote is solid. There is no disagreement there. So that's why. So now that's what I talk about when I talk about my ailments and why I'm a government employee and why I am a government employee on welfare, that they will only give me $733 a month to live on for the last 4 years. That's under $8,000 a year to live on. So it's been difficult. And, but when and when this happened and I started suing them, I also lost my best friend and my partner. They both passed away. So I moved back to Ontario into my hunt camp that has been here for 34 years. While I was here for the first year in 2020, the lunacy in the cities, I did not want to go into the cities. And I was posting from here and really following a lot of things, following the citizen-led movements, following what the government was doing, and a whole bunch of other things, or my mind would, I balance that with the nature out here. But if I didn't do something, it's not me. So in 2021, we'll go to the ATIP page right now. Jane, you want to, you've got something.
Which one? ATIP?
The
First
ATIP page. Yeah.
First one? I'm on
You've
the
got
whole
something
page,
else.
but there's 3 ATIPs. There's extension 2 and 3, and retraction.
Yeah, but you've got something else on the screen right now, though.
What?
You've
I
got a white paper up on the screen.
not on my screen. Just a
Oh,
second.
it says stopworldcontrol.com or something. That's what I see from you right now.
Is that what everybody else sees?
No,
No, I
we,
see, I see the 8
Oh.
boxes.
I see the
We're
8.
seeing Victor's screen. We need to turn that off.
Yeah, no, not mine.
Okay.
I'm seeing Victor's, so here's Jane's. Okay, I can see Jane's now. Okay.
I
So
can see it now. I-
in 2020,
Just a second. I
I
can't
see yours now.
I can't see
I
mine.
don't know why Victor's showing it.
Okay, I gotta go back in again and oh, here it is. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what was going
I
on there.
see yours.
I can't see the page now.
Victor, do you want to stop sharing your screen, please?
I'll shut it off.
And I still see the 8 boxes.
Okay, I can't see them, no. Okay, I'm
Okay.
gonna mute everybody.
Good.
Just unmute, Dana, unmute. Okay, I'm gonna mute everybody. And I don't know how to get my screen back to see it. I can't see it. Oh, wait a minute, I see it. Okay,
There
okay,
you are.
now I see it now, okay.
Okay. Okay, so those 8 boxes are the path that we are about to speak on. So if I do show these pictures down below, but sometimes people's iPhones don't show pictures, so I've made everything also downloadable to show the path of what we're about to speak about. So Jane, if you could scroll down to the picture that says ATIP extension page 1. Keep going down. Keep going down. Keep going after the video. Yeah, keep going. Keep going. Yeah, keep going. Just a little bit more. This one right here. No, back up, back up. Back up a little.
This one?
Yeah, okay. So this is what's important. So what I'm going to tell you guys is in June of 2021, Justin Trudeau made an announcement on June 26th, and he said he would never bring in mandates into this country concerning COVID-19. And I recorded that live. And then in August 13th of 2021, Justin Trudeau in a Scrum Live said that he was going to bring in 2 federal mandates, one for travel and one for government employees, federal employees. The wording on his mandates were very important because if you read the mandates, which are very hard to find, by the way, even if you go to mandates under the PM's page, it's hard to find. It's not easy to find. But the wording that they used was that they expect government institutions to follow their lead, and they expect private corporations and businesses to follow their lead in mandating that their employees get this shot. And people didn't really ask questions on that. And so on the 13th of August, when he said that, I played both these videos beside each other and my blood boiled. I don't know about you as a Canadian, but when they show contradiction and things like this, you have to ask yourself very critical thinking questions. Like, the first question that came to my mind was, how can this be legal? So because that was the first question that came to my mind, I started searching all the legal paths on the internet, all the universities, the lawyer talk on the legal validity of these mandates. And I can tell you, I found almost none in 3 weeks. I found one at McGill University, and I emailed that lawyer that was talking about it, and I never got a response. So on September 23rd, I put in this request. And this request, we had to do revisions because, of course, I'm just a Canadian and I'm just asking questions as a Canadian that's about to embark on using the citizen tools. These are tools that we have as citizens to question what we're hearing on the media or what we're hearing from the government itself by asking for the documentation. So on September 23rd, I did this, and it was finally revised by October 27th to down to a very small wording. That wording is as follows. All records, I am requesting all records between December 1st, 2020 and October 6th, 2021 associated with the legality and legal path of Justin Trudeau's announcements August 13th, 2021, and subsequently the implementation of these mandates regarding A, COVID-19 vaccinations for federal employees, and B, travel, domestic and international to and from Canada, not only Canadians. And I excluded different things so that you can narrow down a path. So before we go on, I want to break down this little thing. When you are doing questions to the government, you have to really narrow it down for them. Because what they will do is they will add redundant documents. That's what I call them, redundant documents. So this request was made directly to the DOJ. Because as we discussed at the beginning, before a government program can be instituted, it has to be proven legal. So where do you do that? That's the next question. And where we do that is our Department of Justice is to make sure that our government is also following the law, not just the citizens. And the government parties and even the House of Commons and the Senate. Our Department of Justice is to make sure that things remain legal. So I only asked for documents filed within the DOJ. The reason why we use specific dates like December 1st, 2020 and October 6th, 2021 is because October 6th was the official date that these mandates were initiated. And you'll notice that my request is before October 6th. So I actually asked them, a month earlier to provide the legal documentation. And when you're doing an ATIP request, they're supposed to help you narrow it down because you're just a citizen, just using the tools. They have to help you learn. So we narrowed it down to this, and this I thought was very good. Now, what we're going to do is look at the very next document. So if you could scroll down, Jane, to the next one that says ATIP extension retraction.
Pass here.
Keep going. Next one. There
This-
we go. So now you see this is December 20th, a month later. And what we have is they had placed a 1825 day extension onto my request, citing 480,000 documents. So to me, in my head, I'm thinking, wait a second, December 1st to October 6th, they have 5,000 employees, but they created 480,000 pages. And when they sent it this extension to me, they did it illegally. And I knew, as per the ATIP Act, which is law, that they cannot do something illegal. So I put in a complaint, first of all, to the DOJ, the ones that made the mistake, and they marked my complaint invalid. And the DOJ director calls me and says to me, Dana, there is no way to remove an extension. And I tell her it was done illegally and I'm going to teach you how. And she said, there is no process. It's never been done in Canadian history. No extension has ever been removed. I'm sorry. And I said, I'm sorry, but I think you need to be taught how. As you can see in this letter, 11 days after that conversation, or 10 days after that conversation, the extension was retracted. And you can see in this letter, they use retraction. They use 3 other words to describe this. And I'm going to spare you all the emails, but if you scroll down on this page, I have put in all the progressive emails to get to this point on purpose, so that you as the citizen can see how they will try to stop you, okay? And mark your complaint invalid. And you think, okay, well, there's nothing I can do. I am a little bit tenacious, okay? When I know I'm right, I fight. And that's what Jane does. She knows that she is right about Trudeau for treason. And I know for a fact that they are document manipulating. So when this retraction happens, they didn't want to do any internal investigations on it. And I put in a complaint to the Office of the Information Commissioner. Their job is to make sure that information goes out correctly on government documentation. And they also, I'm not going to use the word police, but they administer the ATIP to all of the other places that have to answer to ATIP requests. So when I put in my complaint to the OIC, it was marked invalid. And for about 5 times, this complaint that I had made about them not following the law was marked invalid. And if you scroll down, you can see this. We're going to scroll down, Jane, just a little bit. You there, Jane?
Yeah, Eric, you wanted to go down more?
Can we just scroll down a little bit?
Okay,
And you'll see that it says, oh, not too much. Go back up. Sorry, go back up. There's a little button that says more right at the bottom of that paper.
show more, yeah.
Yeah.
So confirmation of investigation.
Yeah. So finally, after over a year, I get a email from this investigator, and he confirms. Remember, they were marked invalid, so he has now validated that there are problems. Once he validated one thing, first of all, this is the confirmation, the first one that you see. And then you see a second confirmation. And then underneath that, you'll see a validation on 5 points. So scroll down just a little bit,
Okay, just a second.
Jim.
Here goes. Here?
Yeah, go down to the next one, validation. Yeah. So on the validation, you'll see that they validate 5 crimes that the DOJ is committing. And it goes on for a 2-year investigation. I'm going to spare you some of it, but you can always scroll down yourselves and you will see the 2-year history of the investigation. I've put it all on there. I even made a video one time because when this DOJ ATIP director called me, it was against my wishes. In my ATIP request, I had specifically said, I do not want any phone calls. I want everything to be done written in emails. And this is exactly why they do not do that, is because somebody like me might create a website and actually show and be transparent to what is happening. You know what I mean? So, Jane, we're going to skip up, go back up the page all the way to the top where it says OIC final report.
Here? Here?
All the way up, all the way up. Go all the way up to the top.
Here? Here or more?
No, keep going. Keep going. That one. Right
Okay.
back there. OIC final report.
This one here?
So here yeah.
Yeah.
So finally, after the 2.5-year investigation, the investigator hands it over to the commissioner, and the commissioner writes a final report. And this report, you can see the date on it. It was the 8th month, 6th day. That's only a month and a bit ago. Okay. So they did not make this public. They only released it to me. So immediately I sent them a request that under section 31, I believe, I could be wrong on that right now while I'm speaking, but I think it's 31 in the ATIP, that you can request the reports from the commissioner be made public under the guise of citizen safety. Now, my explanation in my letters were that because we have to rely on our Department of Justice to make sure that everything is being done legal in the government, then if they find that the DOJ itself is not following the law, this is a citizen safety issue. And they did not like that, by the way. They're kind of fighting on me on it a little bit. No problem. I'm going to win it anyways, by the way. I don't take their no answers very good. So here we have the commissioner's final report. And in this report, you're going to see on the very first page all of the allegations that I made. And actually, they didn't put all of the allegations in here, but they do recognize it within the report. Because one of the allegations is document manipulation. Now, document manipulation is also in our criminal code. If somebody does it to deceive you, and that includes government employees, it is a crime. It is a fraud crime. So
Do you
this
code number, Dana? Do you know the criminal code number for that?
yes, I can look it up real quick right here. I have it. It is, all I did was look under Canadian law and in France, Canadian law. Why is it not coming? Oh, it's not on my computer here. On a different one. Not- Uh, I'm sorry, I don't have my link for that one just handy, but it's under the
Okay, I'll try
why
and,
is it not coming?
you go ahead, I'll try and look it up and
Yeah.
I'll see if I can get it.
It is in my documents there.
Okay,
So the commissioner final report, if we go to the next pages, we will see, actually, I have it here. So. So the first page is my allegations. And through each one of these allegations, they talk about their investigation, the investigation of extension of time, and they are very specific on the dates and everything else, which is excellent. And I found she did a really good thing on that. This whole final report is incomplete, though, as far as I'm concerned. The extension of time now, because they put a 5 year, by the way, 1,825 days is exactly 5 years, because they put an extension on and the extension was removed and the file was placed on hold indefinitely. I kept trying to get a hold of the DOJ and none of them would answer. The DOJ director that I had been communicating with no longer had her job. She's gone. Everybody but the inspector had disappeared. They're literally not at their jobs anymore. They don't answer their emails. None of this. This is called the Disappearing Act. And you will get it as you try to use your citizen tools. This happens quite a lot. And what happens in these cases is the people that you're communicating with disappear and they give you somebody new and you have to start from the beginning again. They play dumb, like they don't have a file in front of them that tells them everything. Also, people's attention spans are about 3 minutes. If you can't make them understand something within 3 minutes, they're off on another thing.
I have the section number. Would you like me to state it?
Yes, please.
Okay, it's section 366. That sound right?
Yeah.
3661 states everyone commits forgery who makes a false document knowing it to be false with intent that it should in any way be used or acted on as genuine to the prejudice of anyone, whether within Canada or not. This can include altering, fabricating, or tampering with documents for fraudulent purposes. If you have more, okay, that's it.
Okay, so does that make sense? So that if they illegally placed an extension onto a very, very important question, which, by the way, I'm going to tell the people, is that not one lawyer, not one government agency, not one corporation, not one doctor requested these files from the DOJ. The DOJ has told me that nobody asked for these papers, by the way. So we all got told that there was a mandate, and literally all of these big corporations and lawyer firms that are asking you for a ton of money never asked for the proof that they were legalized.
Yeah.
Now, we don't know on whether it's even a judge or a council or who finalized the legalization of these two mandates separately. Does that make sense, Jane?
Well, I recognize that it's a violation of the Canadian Bill of Rights, Section 3.1. Would you like me to read that?
Yeah.
It's the
Sure, you're absolutely right.
duties of the Minister of Justice, 3 subbracket 1, subject to subsection 2, the Minister of Justice shall, so no discretion there, he shall, in accordance with such regulations as may be prescribed by the Governor and Council, examine every regulation transmitted to the Clerk of the Privy Council for registration pursuant to the Statutory Instruments Act, and every bill introduced in or presented to the House of Commons by a minister of the Crown in order to ascertain whether any of the provisions thereof are inconsistent with the purposes and provisions of this part, and he shall report any such inconsistencies to the House of Commons at the first convenient opportunity.
Perfect.
Exception. I'll just read an exception because it's so short. Exception is just like somebody wants in. Two people are waiting. Just give me 1 second. I couldn't see them. Oh, I can't.
Oh,
Can you
I'm
see?
sorry, I can check. Participants, admit. Yeah, I got them.
Okay. Okay, so there is a very tiny exception. A regulation may not be examined in accordance with subsection 1 if prior to being made, it was examined as a proposed regulation in accordance with section 3 of the Statutory Instruments Act to ensure that it was not inconsistent with the purposes and provisions of this part. So basically,
Okay.
there's no exemptions.
Exactly. So, can you scroll back up to the orders?
Yeah.
And remember that this OIC,
Here?
it is called the final report, but it should also be called and orders. Now, what I want you to do is go to page 5. If you scroll down, there's a page.
Next,
See
like,
next.
yeah.
Yeah, go to page 5 because what you just read off has a lot to do with this page. Okay, now right at the bottom of this page, you'll see where it says intent to deny access. Now I'm going to read this and keep in mind what Jane had just read. During the course of the investigation, the complainant alleged that there was document manipulation and false information being used to subvert the act. Section 67.1 makes it an offense
Oh, do
to
I go to 6
destroy.
now? Do I go to 6 now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just a sec. I gotta get to the top of
Uh,
page.
yeah.
Okay, there.
Now, section 67.1 makes it an offense to destroy, mutilate, or alter a record or direct, propose, counsel, or cause any person in any manner to do such things with the intent to deny a right of access under this act. Now, what she is describing there is the law within the ATIP Act, okay?
Yep.
But she does not take the information that I gave her on what you just read, which is called document manipulation in our criminal code.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So then she tries to get out of it. My mandate is to conduct administrative investigations into federal institutions compliance with the Act. Remember, Act is law.
Yeah.
And to draw conclusions based on facts. I am not mandated to conduct criminal investigations or assign civil or criminal liability. Although I can draw conclusions based on facts, I do not have the authority to investigate whether the actions were taken with the intent to deny a right of access under the Act. During an investigation, I may disclose to the Attorney General of Canada information relating to the commission of an offense against the law of Canada or a province by a director, an officer, or an employee of a government institution, if, in my opinion, there is evidence of such an offense, as stipulated in subsection 63(2). While Justice could certainly have handled the processing of this request better, I did not find evidence related to the commission of an offense under the Act in the context of this investigation. So she's trying to say, I'm not an investigator. You're going to have to take care of this in a different way. I could tell the Governor General or the Attorney General, but I didn't find anything really, so I'm not going to. But right after that, scroll down a little bit,
Okay.
we're going to come to the outcome. Outcome. The complainant is well-founded because Justice improperly placed the access request on hold. And remember, my access request, all access requests have to be answered within 30 days. Okay? That's the rule, the law. If it is not answered within 30 days, then a legal extension must be must be placed. There was no legal extension, as we can see in her own final report. So they have put my my request on hold for over 2.5 years, and that means that it's 2.5 years past its date.
Yeah.
Justice failed to meet its obligations to assist the complainant pursuant to subsection 4.2.1. Justice is deemed to have refused access to the requested records under subsection 10.3. Now that is also law. They have refused to answer my request. This is where it becomes important, people, and this is why I think that this should be on your media, and even if not on the mainstream media, on your alternative media. But there's a reason why that's not happening. There's a reason why when I went to court, no media showed up. And we're going to get into that right after I read the orders. Because remember, the OIC is now stronger or more powerful than the DOJ in this circumstance. So they can give orders to the DOJ. I order the Minister of Justice to do the following. Remove any hold placed on the processing of the request. Provide a complete response to the access request by May 17th, 2029. Now, I don't want you to worry about that 5 years because of the next one. Provide updates to the complainant every 6 months on the progress of processing the access request, and provide interim releases to the complainant at regular intervals if possible.
What on earth did they put 2029 for?
Well, here's where that doesn't bother me. You know why? Because later on in this report, it also, the very next thing is what I'm going to break it down a little bit. It means that the DOJ is to contact me and ask me to narrow down the search parameters on what to receive first. So I'm going to tell you, out of all of this, and this is the reason why so many people headed to Ottawa in personal protest, was because they were not happy with being mandated to do something. And this is the exact document that we needed to ask whether they were legal or not in the first place.
Yeah.
Okay. And nobody else asked. So what that means is that I'm going to narrow this down on our first communication, which is going to be on the 13th of this month. And what's the date today? The
The
9th.
9th, yeah.
Okay, so within the next few days, they're supposed to contact me. I'm going to narrow it down to the one document that we are looking for. There is no, all of the other documents that they can take their time to get to me till 2029 are supporting documents. Okay? That means the meetings they had, the whatever. Okay, the court decisions or whatever. But I want the final document. I want the document from either a judge or a counsel or the Privy Council who made these individually legal. Does that make sense to everybody? How about to you, Jane?
Well, yes and no. I, excuse me. I would, now maybe you are doing this and I'm not quite understanding, but I would want to see, the decision of the, Justice Department that these regulations
Okay,
met the
I think
provision.
I know where you're getting to. Let me, so this next page, the initial report and notice from institution. On the 13th, June 13th, 2024, I issued my initial report to the Minister of Justice setting out my orders. Next page.
Yeah, okay, just a second, there, this one, I'll have to go back to the top.
Yeah.
of it. This
Yeah,
is-
scroll up a little.
oh, there.
Okay, so here's the important part. This is what you were about to talk about, okay? So on August
second.
2nd,
Second, Dana, there's people talking, I'm gonna see if I can
Don't
get,
need any of it?
oh my goodness. Can you mute all?
You brought it for the right person.
Well, that's why I said I seen it. Hold on. Somebody here, this is
Oh,
vegetables.
wait, I got them.
You have it?
I got them. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So this is the important part here. So basically, on August 2nd, 2024, the Justice Acting Director of Access to Information and Privacy gave me notice that the Justice would be implementing the orders. Now, I found a problem with this. It says the Acting Director of Access to Information. Remember the lady that signed the extension and also called me illegally and said that there was no way to remove it?
Yeah,
She was the director. So this tells us that she is now gone and there's an acting director, and they would not name that director in this document.
oh, good.
Okay. So, but this tells me that they have agreed to implement the orders that the OIC is giving them. Justice indicated that in an effort to comply with the orders, they have assigned 5 members to index the records, and the file will be transferred to a paralegal for review of exclusions, and a senior analyst will take over review of the documents due to its volume and complexities. Now, earlier on in this report, when we passed by page 3 or 4, it tells you that the DOJ told the OIC that they only had one person on this the entire time. That one person could only produce 90 pages in a month. And that's how they came out with 5 years, because now they've narrowed it down from 480,000 documents down to 163,000 or something like that. So this is where the important part is, where you were just about to talk to. Review by federal court. When an allegation in a complaint falls under paragraph 31A, B, C, D, D.1, or E of the Act, the complainant has the right to apply to the federal court for a review. When the information commissioner makes an order, the institution also has the right to apply for a review. Whoever applies for a review must do so within 35 business days or the date of this report, and serve a copy of the application for review to the relevant parties, as per section 43. If nobody applies for review by this deadline, the orders take effect on the 36th business day after the date of this report. Now, I responded to this final, remember the wording, final report, right? But what happens if somebody disagrees with the report? Do you know that there's nothing in the ATIP Act about a citizen disagreeing with a report or having it reviewed? So I refuse. The reason why we use citizen tools is to hold accountability.
Yep.
And if we cannot hold accountability in our government on these very detrimental questions that we are facing these days, then what are we to have faith in? It is bringing the House of the DOJ into disrepute. And that disrepute means that it's losing the faith of the people. That's not what we want. I personally want you to believe that our system works.
Yeah.
But it is not being used effectively.
Yeah.
I cannot afford, nor do I have the expertise to be putting in for federal reviews. That should be the job of the OIC commissioner and the DOJ themselves.
Yeah.
To review.
Yeah. Well,
because
also,
they obviously
also the
obviously made mistakes and need to correct their actions.
well, the Minister of Justice is the one that's supposed to be assuring us that all regulations and bills meet the provisions of the Bill of Rights. Like you said, we shouldn't have to do that. That's what his freaking job is.
Exactly.
That's what
So
we,
I'm
the people, have hired him for. And when he's not doing that,
exactly.
I think I see where you're going at. You want to kick the Justice Department's ass for not doing their
Okay,
job,
well,
supervising, which is a different approach, right? It's a different than
yeah.
the issue of
Well, what
whether
we're
the
going to do is,
Yeah.
what we've seen, Jane, is a whole lot of everything has to be done in the courts, hire lawyers in the courts, give us money in the courts.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't think that way.
No.
I think that we have a system that is to protect the Canadian citizens and use accountability, forward thinking for new age and new times
Good.
of information processing.
This is it.
So what I am doing, what we're going to do is I want you to scroll down a little bit
Okay, just a second.
to the response to the report.
This one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I went back and forth with this Stephen man, this investigator, and he says that he is my contact to the commissioner. There is no way to speak to the commissioner, by the way. I've requested, I've tried. No, there's no way to speak to a commissioner. until I get in their face. And I'm going to be in Ottawa this week, and I'm going to get in their face, by the way. I'm going to show up personally.
Okay.
I'm going to make an appointment. So when Stephen contacted me, he said, nope, I'm sorry, the commissioner does not put in for federal review. The commissioner does not change the report or review this final report and all of this stuff. I say no. I gave them 7 more days. So I thanked him for his information, but I referred to some of the laws that we have in there, and you can see those on here, where the act under 2, the head of the government institution referred to in a paragraph 1C or D shall not refuse under subsection 1 to disclose any record that contains information that was created by or behalf of the head of a government institution in the course of an investigation or audit conducted under the authority of the head of the government institution once the investigation or audit and all related proceedings, if any, are finally concluded. Now, by me not filing for federal review, then we're at a concluded stage right now. So under that premise, I have asked that this report be made public. There are no other steps being taken right now. I have asked the commissioner, I have asked the DOJ directors to correct the way that they're operating. And there's also no information how to appeal a final OIC report for insufficient and misleading information. So I don't want to get into all of the rest because there are some major steps that I'm going to do that are not listed here. One of them is because of the law that Jane had read out in our criminal code for document manipulation. There's also another law that we have called citizen's arrest. Okay? It is a law that is not used very often anymore. But in this case, what I want to do and what I will be doing is I have a report made up and it's going to the RCMP to arrest the former director of ATIP at the DOJ and charge her with document manipulation personally. And because I know that that's one that I can prove. I can also prove a couple more, but you have to take some baby steps. You have to focus on moving forward. So this is the next step, is to actually charge the DOJ.
Okay, I have something for you here. It's supposed to
Yep.
be the steps that the Minister of Justice takes when something does not comply with the provisions of the Bill of Rights. You want to hear that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm
if
going to look at some of the
Justice-
comments while you're reading that.
Okay. If the Minister of Justice finds that a regulation does not comply with the provisions of the Canadian Bill of Rights, the minister must take specific actions to address this issue. No discretion. They must. They must review and amend the regulations. The Minister of Justice would first review the regulation in question to identify which provisions of the Canadian Bill of Rights it conflicts with. This could involve working with legal experts and relevant government departments. Consult with the legislative branch. The minister may need to consult with Parliament or the relevant legislative body to propose amendments to the regulation. This process ensures that any changes comply with the Canadian Bill of Rights. Notify the government. The Minister of Justice would likely need to notify the federal government and provide recommendations on how to amend or repeal the regulation to ensure compliance with the Bill of Rights. report to Parliament. The Ministry of Justice might be required to report this issue to Parliament, outlining the steps being taken to bring the regulation into compliance. This could include drafting a new regulation or modifying the existing one. Seek judicial review if applicable. Now, that's exactly what Dana said. That's not Dana's
Exactly.
job. That's the Minister of Justice's job. Okay, so the Minister of Justice could initiate or support a judicial review to challenge the regulation's validity in court. This step ensures that the regulation is legally tested against the Canadian Bill of Rights. This process underscores the commitment to ensure that all laws and regulations align with the rights and freedoms guaranteed under the Canadian Bill of Rights. So you're on the right track.
Exactly.
Dana. You're on
And
correct.
I just seen a very good question, Karen. The comment was interesting. If they were able to produce documents in 10 months, why are they not able to find them at least within the same time, but they need 5 years? This is very important, actually. And the reason why it's important is it's actually we didn't go through the whole 7-page document, but on your own time, I want you to go through it. And I think it is under page 4, where the OIC commissioner says that if they had all these documents ready in June, why couldn't they release them if they knew how many documents? The reason that they said that they couldn't release them is that their legal department has to go over them. And that's going to take 5 years. That's what they're saying. So, and this is why the orders included, instead of one person handling the whole file, now we have 7 people on my file. Okay? It said that they put in 5 new, they have assigned 5 members to index the records now, and the file will be transferred to a paralegal for review of exclusions, and the senior analyst will take over review of the documents. So now they have 7 new people on it. So that's exactly the answer to that one.
Well, you know what's just dawning on me here now is you were fully engaged in the truckers convoy. And
No, I have nothing to do with a convoy. Okay.
I mean,
First
the
of all,
protest, whatever. The protest.
I went to a protest.
Yeah, okay, protest. That's what everybody capitalizes that as convoy. But so I'll just say protest.
Yeah. I hate it.
Protest was focused on the mandates, the vaccine mandates. So why in the F didn't the so-called self-appointed leadership take this as a front and center piece?
Exactly. Now that's where we're going to get in. That's where we're going to get into something else.
Yeah, if I had I've done many protests in my background, and if I was protesting the mandate and you came along and said, "Hey, look at this," I would have jumped on it with both feet.
Well, I'll tell you, for the first year after the protest, almost a year, I literally communicated with every group. We were sharing and groups were working together and everything else. But something happened in October of 2022. And what that was more of a control group that started to emerge. I was invited into that group. They call it, the team or the fight club or clandestine or whatever. I put the information out there, but that's not what tonight is for. You'll notice that I was in there talking. I was spending time. I went to Canadians for Truth. James Bowder asked me to look after his stuff for almost a year. I was the admin of Canada Unity for more than a year. And a couple of the other groups you may not know. I was helping in the background. I went on Freedom Tour, and remember, I never inserted myself anywhere. I got asked because of what I did, right? And because of using decorum and standing in peace and things like that. But the moment that I even mentioned just once that I did not like vulgar flags, I would never hold one, I wouldn't be around one. And when we went to the KOA, 5,000 people, 18 different groups, the one request was to not have those flags in that family park. What a lot of people did not know about that gathering was 3 months before that happened for Canada Day, the owner of that place, a friend, asked me to protect her if she was to do anything for the Freedom community at her property. And I made a promise that I would. Now, when I showed up to that place, I seen total no coordination whatsoever, not even a fire extinguisher, a medical tent, security, nothing was set in place. So, and we seen who was in there causing a lot of havoc, actually. So the owners came to me and said, Dana, we can't have this. This is the first day and it's already kind of getting out of hand. So I said, okay, I will step up.
I don't know
and,
what it is you're talking about, Dana. What event? What event?
In June of 2022, there was a large gathering at the KOA in Renfrew, and
Okay,
it was for Canada Day. And
Okay.
I was asked to go there as a speaker.
okay,
So when I was asked and they wanted to put my face and my name on a poster, I protect myself. I said, if you're going to do that, I want to be in on your organizational Zoom meetings. For a month, I took part in these Zoom meetings, and I stayed quiet. But what I was doing was observing, right? Observing the leadership skills of the people that were doing it. When I got to the park, the owner put me in a cabin, and by the first day said, listen, we're going to need help. We need you to step up here. And I said yes. Now, at that time, I was only supposed to be a speaker. I never did get to speak at that event because I was so busy babysitting. It was supposed to be a time where groups came together and talked and worked on things like this. You just said to me, it's weird that the leadership groups and stuff like that would not look at this information.
And more than
Instead,
more than just look at it.
it,
It's a central
exactly.
activity.
And
It's not even a side.
exactly.
It
Now,
should-
that's what I say. And you know what they say? They say, oh, you're just doing this for yourself or this or that or whatever. And I've never done that.
No,
But there's a whole lot of conjecture out there
yeah,
and
substance.
missing information
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So I tried to work with everybody. And instead of them trying to see what I'm saying and putting this up front, instead, there was a smear campaign done on me instead.
Yeah.
And when I tried to protect myself and speak up and call out bad behavior, like the Tupac Church clown show, I was the only person that spoke up. And the reason why that was is that you can't say anything. You can't
I
call
spoke.
out bad behavior
spoke up.
in the freedom
I spoke
community.
up on that. I spoke up on that.
Yeah.
I speak up on
Yeah,
everything
well,
that I see, not everything. I don't see everything, but I spoke up on Tupac. I did it
well,
actually
what
where
they
I
did
met
during that time
Where I
was
met was at the birth of it. Like it was about a week after the protest was shut down. There was a planning
Yeah.
meeting, and
yeah,
William Calmer, and Tamara
Oh.
Lee husband and some other guy came,
yeah.
and And Calmer had about, I don't know, half, 3/4 of an hour to speak. And then I had been invited to speak, so I start speaking. And then the guy that was with him said he had a question. So we had a talking stick, so I gave him the talking stick. And he didn't even ask a question. What he said is that nobody should be looking at any kind of action involving the court because all the courts are corrupt. So, which
Yeah, yeah.
was
Well,
ridiculously.
that's what the
out of
smear
context.
campaigns were.
Then-
So
then
we'll
he
get back
hands-
to
no,
the,
no, listen, I'm almost done. He hands the stick
Yeah.
back to Calmer, who already had a really long speech, and he stands up and goes to do another speech. And I had only talked for about 2 minutes. And V said, "Give her back that stick. She's not finished." So after that, on I think at least 4 occasions, I called him out. Because I saw him,
Mhm.
I saw what he was
Mhm.
made, and I saw where he was headed, and I saw what they were doing. I liked some of the people that were doing that over there.
Yeah.
But I could see that the overall process was just trying to discredit the freedom movement and grift lots of money, and then leave.
Yeah. Okay, let's get back on track though. I see some really good questions. And where Amy, it actually was on the government website that mandating vaccines is unconstitutional. Yes, and that's a big part to this ATIP request, actually. We'll get into that a little bit later. I like that question or that comment. The next one is Karen. Shouldn't these documents that are the base for the mandates be recorded on one special place where they can be accessed at any time? This is exactly one of the points that I am trying to drive home.
Yeah.
Is that the government is supposed to give you assurance. It's supposed to make you feel that if they were bringing a government program in, that it is legal. It's not for us to prove that it's legal.
Yeah.
It's that it is their mandate that it is legal.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's not
so
supposed to
there
rock
should
and
be a
roll.
place.
It's not supposed to
And
rock
no-
and roll until it's established. Like all what I just
Exactly.
that's supposed to happen before it passes. Like if it has to go to court first or whatever the hell, it's not after, it's before. He has to
Yeah,
approve it. He has to approve it. Like it says there for a bill when it's being introduced. Like not
exactly.
before it's discussed even, before it goes to the votes in the Senate and all that crap, before. So if it goes
Yeah,
there
yeah.
at all, no matter what, if it goes there without that process having taken place, automatically it's wrong. Like whether it's a violation or not, that's another issue. But they broke
Yeah.
their law by putting it up as a regulation before it got approval through that process. So you're hitting
Exactly.
on a
Okay,
very important
So
point
this
here.
ATIP request, I want everybody to know that I am not letting up on them. Even though I've had literally almost zero support, by the way, public support. One thing about me is that I really have never asked for money except for when JCCF broke their contract with me just before my trial. And I find this very interesting because their excuse, which remember they put up donate buttons beside my face for 2 years and all of this stuff, their excuse was that they could not afford to pay a private lawyer. But you see, they only entered my contract as a payee, not that they were representing me like they lied to everybody on their website. Okay, I didn't agree with their posts, by the way. And they entered on an estimate of $25,000 for my case. Now, I will tell you that my case actually, because of my actions, cost under $10,000 to go to court to have everything withdrawn, not stayed or anything, withdrawn. Okay.
No trial.
That means that they cannot charge me with the same crime twice.
Yeah.
Okay. So, this avenue that I've been taking on the ATIP is very important, but when You don't, when you have a incentive that the people can see that is worthwhile, you get the help. You don't need to hold all these fancy dinners and shows and all of this. People will help you monetarily and with money. It costs me money to do this stuff, and I don't ask for anything, but I have had citizens help and pay for my website. I have not paid for it in 2 years. I paid for the first 2 years. Then, when it came time to renew, I wasn't able to afford it. And somebody came to me personally and said, Dana, if there's one thing I can help you with, what would it be? And I said, I really need to keep this website. And they said, okay, when is it due? I said, 30 days. Within that 30 days, I made arrangements that I never received any money. They called up my provider, paid it, and nothing stays on file. So to me, that was a gift of great proportions. And also, there's been other people, like you remember, I flew to Calgary. I didn't have the money to do that. But somebody found it important enough to say to me, listen, I will book your flight and I'll email it to you. And that's exactly what happened. So I'm going to say that there are people that help, but publicly, because of the public shaming and what I call public fearing, they fear you not to associate with me, not to like my stuff, not to share my stuff, because it has nothing to do with their narrative. And I don't have a narrative. I'm just a citizen following the tools that we have. And that's what I want to drive home to everybody. I don't care about me. I have other things to do. So Jane, I want you to go to the next page.
Okay.
It's called The King is Keeping Secrets.
Okay, just a second.
I sent you that link. You can just go to About page right there. Go to the About page at the top.
At the top, right there, download.
Well, it's right. No, the About page right at the top in the
at the about.
in the bar
Yeah,
at the
got it.
top.
I got it. Okay.
Yeah. And then if you scroll down a little bit, keep
Keep
going.
going.
Keep going. Yeah. Keep going. Okay, so we come to the blog, and there's one that's called The King is Keeping Secrets.
Open that.
Yeah. Now, throughout this entire time since 2022, I have been blogging. I know that a couple hundred people have read some of the blogs, but never any questions or anything like that. So if you could just scroll just a little bit so we can see that picture.
Just a second. Okay. Okay, there. This one.
Okay. So when I was arrested, when I was protesting, first of
Want me
all,
to open that picture,
the-
Dan? You want me to open it?
I don't think it does, but if it does, try it.
Oh, it doesn't. No.
Yeah, I said it that way. So when I seen so many beautiful Canadians starting to travel across the country, and I'm going to add in regardless of who or how they got out of their chairs, okay? All of these Canadians were in personal protests that were heading to Ottawa, the only place our voices mattered at that time. I'm not going to get into the other places that happened around Canada because honestly, you're not going to like my view on it. The only place that we had an argument is in Ottawa. And that's where the agreement was made that everybody was going. And we were going to talk about mandates. I had already, you notice the dates on my stuff. I had already had it under investigation by the time that we were going there in January. So when I seen all the people crossing Canada, I also seen some bad actors. I'm just going to call them bad actors. And I was sitting in my cottage here, and I was thinking to myself, they're going to need somebody with a good past, government employee, security cleared, good employee at other businesses, and a business owner, somebody that's never broken a law. And we're going to need somebody like that. So I put on an outfit, which is called a Bushman outfit. It's not army. That Bushman outfit was to remind you of time, of our ancestors that helped build this country, that already fought for our freedoms. I decided I was going to go to Ottawa and stand and make a statement. Yes, I did that on purpose. I knew this ugly mug would grab some attention. Okay. In the first couple days that I was there, I noticed, and remember, I wore a head cam. I have 45 hours of footage on that head cam that nobody has seen because that's not what I was about. It is evidence, actually. And we've seen a lot of people wandering around with cameras and stuff like that. And we've seen all this footage used in the courtrooms and in the EA. But what of the other cameras? And what am I talking about? On one side of Wellington, you have the Privy Council. On the other side of Wellington, you have the Parliament buildings. Both of them are exempt from ATIP for security of the country. But as you can see in this picture that I'm showing you here right now, there is a camera that is on a sidewalk at Medcalf and Wellington, and there's also another one at Medcalf and Bank, and they were working, they were rotating, they were recording, and they were used for public safety and tourism. So in that picture, you will see a small picture of me right in the middle of a helicopter view of me and Dave being arrested, exactly where I was standing. And I remember standing there with the cuffs behind my back, looking up at that camera and thinking, that camera's important. It just caught everybody breaking the law against citizens. So after time went on, I went and watched the EA and I watched what was happening in the background of the EA that you guys may not know, but I had access to every lawyer and people that were in that room on supposedly the citizens' side. Continuing. So I did ATIP requests for that camera because I didn't see it being used in the EA. And then one day I realized they did use it. And at the bottom right-hand corner, you will see that there is video from that camera, but only video when nothing is happening. What that gave me was the camera number and address of that camera. So I did an ATIP request based on that information that it was used in the EA. And I thought the best place to ask for this information were the people that were in charge of the investigation countrywide. Mr. Kim Awanet, or however you say his last name, is the commissioner of the RCMP. And he said that in the EA, he said that he had access to every camera across country that had to do with this. But as you can see in this ATIP request, and I want you to read this, the king is keeping secrets later, and it has all the documentation and everything that you need to see. Down at the bottom, no, down about 1/4 of the way, you'll see the response that I got from the RCMP. And it says, based on the information provided, a search for records was conducted with RCMP Federal Policing. Please be advised that we are unable to locate any recordings related to your request. However, you may wish to make a separate access to information request with the City of Ottawa. So you're telling me that the RCMP was in charge of the investigation and they didn't make any recordings from when people were being beaten in front of me, or when I was actually on that camera, stood in front of it for 2.5 hours in the minus 35-degree weather with my hands behind my back. It was so cold they had to switch out cops, but they wouldn't switch me out anywhere, would they? Okay. So I argued with the RCMP and I said, listen, you have to have it. You said in the EA that you had access to all of this, but you're not going to record when the government itself is beating on its people. So they said no, and I've let the time lapse where I can't argue with them anymore. And also, I didn't have the money to keep putting in new requests. So I put in another request into the City of Ottawa. And it's funny because the City of Ottawa, there's 3 different levels of ATIP. You have your national level, which is the ATIP Act. You have your midterm level, which is the provincial ATIP. And then you have the City of Ottawa runs under a municipal ATIP. All of those acts are different, and they get worse as they go down. But one thing I noticed was the right to know. So the municipal part says that they have an initiative called Right to Know. They believe that it should be free to do an ATIP request. They believe a whole bunch of things. So I put them to the test on it. Now, remember when I went to court, or when anybody went to court, if you look right in the middle of the picture, what does it say? It says the King versus Dana Lee Melfi. That's very interesting. Don't you think that everybody that was charged, the King is the accuser? Well, it's funny because when we were arrested, it was the Queen was the accuser. So just remember that in the middle of our whoops, my computer is not charging. Okay. In the middle of our cases, it changed from the Queen to the King being the accuser. Since when in a court case can you ever see that happen? And
Well,
yes,
the thing
very
is,
strange
though,
circumstances.
the thing is, though, it's the king is a symbolic head of state. So it's actually
Yeah.
sovereign, which is the people that are like in the United States, it'll say the people are making the choice.
Yeah.
In Canada, we have a symbolic ritual,
Yeah.
basically. So it doesn't really make any difference because it's not the Queen and
Yeah.
it's not the King. It's a symbolic representation of the sovereign.
So I want to get to wrapping up, because what I want you is to realize is that I am not doing just one avenue on what I do. I'm reaching many avenues on purpose. And the very next place I went to was the city of Ottawa, of course. And when I did the city of Ottawa request, the city of Ottawa says that the documents are in another court case, so we can't release them to you.
Well, wait a minute. Everything in a courtroom is public knowledge. Public,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This is a blatant document manipulation.
did you
They're
try
trying
and
to
get it
make
from
you
the court?
believe.
Did you try
They're
to get
trying to make.
court? Did you try
So-
and get it from,
sorry?
did you try and get it from the court? Because
Uh,
it's easy to do. like,
I have been in communications with the crown, the crown, okay,
no,
the
you
virtual
go,
crown
no,
there.
you go to the administrative office, the clerk's office, and you tell them what you want. You make a request, and they give it to you. And it's
Mhm.
not even difficult. Seriously, it's not as
Mhm. Well,
difficult
I'm-
as
see,
complicated as-
I'm not great at this, and this is why communication with people like you that have proved yourself on knowing some of these laws and whatnot. I'm not the best at this. I'm just following the citizen tools as if anybody else.
there's-
I'm not a professional.
they're still available
So-
there now. You can see if they'll release them when you
But
come in.
the
when you
the,
come
the,
in.
the point
Ottawa.
of what I'm making here is that is one case more important than another to release this type of information? What happens if
They're
I'm
playing-
building
they're
a
playing
case?
games with you. They're playing games with you.
Well,
Like they
I
have
know,
no
but-
business withholding them because they're part of a court case. That's stupid because it's public
Exactly.
knowledge. So I would think
Exactly.
that it maybe isn't even part of the public record of a case. They're probably just lying.
Exactly. And
So if
that's
you
what
request
I'm
it
working
from
on
the
right
court-
now.
So if you request from the court and it's not available, then you can go back
Yeah,
to
yeah.
them and say, hey, fucking liars. And is that not a form of fraud and manipulation?
Mhm, mhm.
Lie to refuse, their process.
Well, I told you I'm going to focus on one of the things that I find that is happening rampantly. There's also when you say you disagree with a government institution or even another corporation, you're in Canada. We have to go through what's called the ombudsman.
Yeah.
In 2015, when I started my my sickness benefits, I found that PEBA was not working correctly, right?
Yeah.
So I put in an investigation into the ombudsman. The ombudsman took 2 years to do their investigation, and they came out saying, and they didn't use any of the evidence I provided. They only used what PEBA provided. Of course, PEBA's against me. It was not a good report.
Yeah.
So before you can go to the next step, which is called the PIDC, Public Information Disclosure Commissioner, the ombudsman only investigate fairness. That's all they investigate, fairness. That's their mandate. The PIDC, if you can only access after you've gone through the stages of the ombudsman. And the PIDC investigate wrongdoing. So I did a complaint in 2018 to the PIDC, and I list off 18 government institutions that are not acting to their mandates, not acting to their, some of them have constitutions, and stuff like this. And that investigation took another 2 years, and they concluded they actually didn't even touch on what the basis of the complaint was about. I find out that the PIDC and the Ombudsman office are in the same building and even use some of the same employees. Those same employees marked it all as if it was about my argument with PEBA, not as a separate case.
Yeah.
So these are the citizen tools. This is what this is all about tonight. Just to show you some of the things that you can do. Don't take my word for it, but I'll tell you that these pages that I'm showing you are very, very, very important. This commissioner's final report and orders to our DOJ caught and verified that have broken the law in 4 sections. Is that not important? Why would they do that on such an important investigation or an important ATIP request that nobody else made?
Yeah.
That's what I want you to think about as the citizen is, were the mandates legally done at the DOJ? You know, forget every other step that they needed to take.
Yeah.
In the end, it has to be proven at the DOJ that it is legal before it can be instituted.
Exactly.
So I hope everybody followed along there today and liked our talk. There is other things on that page, and it kind of goes to what Jane was saying is, why would none of these leaders or whatever help you? Why would they not focus on this request, which was exactly why we went there?
That's what I'm saying.
When
It should have
and
been,
what?
it should have been sent.
So one thing that happened earlier, I touched on that when JCCF broke their agreement with me, there were 2 groups that came together. One is called an X group, Twitter, that's called the Angels. And these were live rooms that I took part in, and these angels, they really supported what I was doing on X, and they were really trying to help me get the word out. Adopt a Trucker, Chris Guerra, was part of these rooms, and he had already been beaten down by these people that say that their word is whatever they're doing, you should follow them. Okay? Now, these people they found out that I was being asked for $10,000 from my lawyer before she would continue. So they put together a room, and Adopt a Trucker put out an email and said, if anybody wants to help Dana, you can donate here and I'll send the money directly to his lawyer. And in 2 hours, $1,333 was raised. And I'll tell you, it touched my heart. I couldn't believe the amount of people that came out and donated. But in the just hours afterwards, if you look at the bottom, or looking where, almost the bottom of this page, there is you'll see where this WOGPOG guy and Adopt a Trucker and the Angels came together and did this fundraiser for me. It had nothing to do with me. I didn't ask for anything. They actually begged me to do it. They said, can we have your permission to do this? And finally I said yes. Only hours later, you see that I'm not going to mention his name, but the picture is at the bottom of this page.
Do I
And you
move
will
it?
see.
Do I move the page? Oops.
Yeah,
Right.
you can scroll right down to the bottom. Just go right all the way down to the bottom almost. Yeah, just keep pulling it. Keep going, keep going, keep going. It is right here. Go back up a little bit. Back up, back up, back up. Okay. So the one that shows WOGPOG Just a little bit down. A little bit down. Okay, so here you see the ad that says help Dana Lee, help Peaceman. And then just hours later, after $1,333 was raised, you see a post, scroll down, by one of the biggest men out there, right? And what is he doing? And why is he doing it? So he's creating social fearing so that you do not listen to anything that I say. He's also mocking that I take care of my elderly parents. And he does this for months and months on end. So I just want you to think, why would they do that to me? After I had shared everything about them, I had stood on stages with that man with flags, everything. All of a sudden, why would they do that? And this caused, you know what? Not one person donated, and other than Jane and two of the operatives for this person showed up to my courtroom. Not one media would even ask a question. And I trust me, I was in contact with them all. They all said, "Oh, you're rude, you're this, you're that," and I've never been that way. And you really have to go by your personal experience these days instead of about what people are saying. So let's take his face off of my screen because I can't stand to look at the man.
Okay.
Okay.
Down or up?
So you can go down and just finish the page. I tried to work with everybody, regardless of what you think or anybody else thinks, but there's something else going on in Canada. You will see a lot of material on my website, and it is all just personal experience. And there's a lot of writing and documenting this entire path. I didn't set out to be a man hated. I was actually trying to do some of the most important questioning to our government. Now, here's the thing. The globalists that have penetrated and admitted to penetrating our government have contingencies. This is a decades and decades old plan.
Yep.
The first thing that they have planned against is to stop any citizen-led movement.
Yep.
Because that's the only thing that can beat them.
Yep.
And people are not seeing their little tricks. The planted flags, the planted vulgarities, the and I'm not against the person per se, but let's just take one example. On the 26th of January, 2022, I showed up at 11 o'clock at night in Ottawa. And the first place I went to was downtown by Parliament buildings. And I took a picture of what I saw. The very first thing I saw was a giant truck with a huge vulgarity on it before anybody showed up. And it was abandoned right in front of the Parliament buildings. Now, any other truck that would have parked and abandoned would have been searched and everything because of high security risk. And this truck never was. Okay? Now, why would that happen? And was it a valiant effort by someone? Or was it so our prime minister, the treasonous guy, remember, Trudeau for treason, has used every trick to demonize us. Okay? And that they tried to poke and prod at us for the first week. Now, the next room that we get into we'll continue from there because there's more to these investigations than what you have seen tonight. As far as ATIP requests and stuff, I'm willing to take questions.
Just undo your mic if you have a question.
I have a question for Dana. That's disturbing that the RCMP didn't have any footage they claimed in the investigation or the POAC. There was so much video footage that was accumulated, and don't the police sometimes have body cams? So that means all of the police body cam footage is missing, right? So it's like,
Actually, this is very good observation, sir. The thing is that there's actually right almost at the bottom, there's a picture of me, and I say, do any of you remember asking a police officer or a PPS officer if their cameras were on between January 26th, February 20th in Ottawa? Specific times and dates are helpful.
Where is it,
Do
Dana?
any of you remember? What?
Where did you want me to scroll to?
Okay, sorry, I was on the chat. The same pay. No. Are we in the King is Keeping Secrets?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So scroll up a little bit.
Yeah.
Keep going up. Right. Next one. No, keep going. This. Now, right there, that green one.
Down?
Yeah. Now, I'll just continue reading it. Do any of you remember seeing a camera on a building recording you or capture this on one of your videos? Do you have a video of MSN recording you? Do you still have the video or picture? Now, I tried to put this information out, but because of the social fearing aspect that has already been, the smear campaign, my stuff was not being seen, not being shared, and stuff like this. The reason why I asked this is because I have captured at least 50 different police officers with body footage on, body cameras on. I also captured mainstream media recording bad behavior from police officers and whatnot. Your question is very important because in the red writing that you can barely read there, it says, have we relied on the wrong people for the wrong questions? Or have we relied on the wrong people for the wrong questions long enough? And it upsets me that people would not respond to me, only because it was me. Despite the work that I've done, it's only because it was me that these questions were not asked and have not been explored. Now, the other thing is I went and looked at a lot of these court cases, and none of this footage, none of the body cam footage, none of the citizen safety and tourism camera footage was used. Not one lawyer did a subpoena to any of it. There's the answer to your question. Now, why these big lawyers that everybody's paying millions of dollars for here, did they not do the basics? Excellent question, sir.
Yeah.
thanks. Yeah, it's mind-boggling. It really is. The King has his secret for sure.
Well, I have answers to it, but people aren't going to like to hear it tonight. So we're going to get into that in another time.
Yes, definitely we want to hear more.
So the people that have listened tonight, oh darn, this computer just shut off. I can't pull up my pages.
Should we just,
Um,
should I get rid of the screen now? Or do
Uh,
you have more?
yeah, that one you can, yeah.
Okay, what do you want? Do you want to go to another page? How do I do that?
Well, my computer just shut down here. I have a backup computer and it's really crappy. Oh, darn. Okay, so what other page would be important here? Let me, first of all, that was an excellent question. Are there any other questions? Actually, scroll down to the blog there, Jane.
Down to the blog? How?
Yeah, yeah, just keep going down a bit. Just keep going down. And you're gonna see right there, go back up a little bit. Now, there's a bunch of blog entries here, but there's one that's called, keep going up, up, up a little bit. Okay, right there, you see it says exposing the Hydra.
Yeah,
Okay. So this is my way of explaining what we are going through. And there's actually these, I would read these in date format. So if you scroll down a little bit, the first one is called What Does the Beast Look Like? Now, this was a painting. You can click on that one. This was a painting done by a man called Den Bouvet, very well-known, beautiful artist. And this is a depiction of what I think we are in, what fight I think we are in.
Yeah.
And it is just a depiction that I really, really adored that this man did for me. And it is the Hydra. We're cutting off a lot of heads, but we're not getting to the heart because we're not asking the right questions, the
Yeah.
basic questions as citizens.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So you can see I try to protect the people, and I'm really fighting against this beast.
Yeah.
So, and I'm doing it, not alone, but people are scared. Even some of the people that have helped me, after they have me go to their home or whatever, those people get threatened. Did you know that? Like calls in the middle of the night threatening. I have received dead animals wrapped in newspaper with peace signs on them in my parents' mailbox. And if you take care of your elderly parents and you get something like that, and you say something, and these big people out there, or like the person that you said a negative about me before we even started tonight, Jane.
Yeah.
They say that they try to play it off like I'm something else, okay? And it's not true. So I would love if people read the exposing the Hydra, okay? It's just a way of explaining what the globalists are doing and whatnot. Even the New York Times, you can see that there's another blog there about how the New York Times lied. They used my picture. They followed me for a week. They talked to me constantly, and then they never even published my name or anything that was said.
What are they
Nothing.
doing?
And they sell my picture for $600 through Getty Images. So, any other questions? So what I'm also asking for here is support to break through this social fearing that is being done on me for for nefarious reasons. Okay, it's not because I'm a bad guy. It's because what I'm doing is really, really scaring them. Uh, you're right, Dave. It is despicable what is happening. Now, if you go to the Peaceman footage page, you'll see that the people that have worked against me, right at the top of the page, Jane,
Okay.
says Peaceman footage, or even the home page, either one.
Okay, just a second. I'm trying to scroll. Okay, up like this.
No, like go, you see where your mouse is? Just up above it. There's an about page, there's a
Oh yeah.
home page, okay, now there's a whole bunch of pages. If you click down the more, there's a bunch of pages. But the home page and the Peaceman footage and pages like that, what you're going to see is even the people that have disrespected me, let's say, I still show their content. I still think that they have some value. And I still want to work with any Canadian that thinks that we should be asking the right questions. Okay? I haven't done all of this for nothing and to be hated. I've done this to show that integrity matters. And if I have a feeling that, listen, I don't want to be around a vulgar flag or a giant sheep or, all of this stuff that actually divides us, because if you're trying to make a case, I'm not trying to reach freedom people. I'm trying to reach every other Canadian out there and get them to see the humanity in this. Okay? And how can you do that when you've got horrible video from on the street with the street actors? You've got horrible vulgarities and things like this in front of children. You've got nothing but incessant drinking when you get together. All of this doesn't help. And the other day somebody said, "Oh, Dana, you're too pure." Well, if that's what you think of me, well, thank you. Because I do live to my beliefs. And my belief is this is about humanity, and this is not a Canada problem. It's a worldwide problem. And if you read that picture that's half on the screen right now, I have sent this and more to all 338. And it says that we can talk about the symptoms to the root causes all day long, about the destabilization of our reputation, our wealth, our civility, our democracy, our economy. And it's all at the same time. They're trying to inundate us with information. We can't fight all of these battles at once. But let's get to the ones that really matter. Let's get to the basic questions.
Well, I have
Okay, well, it's
yeah. I have a
go
belief
ahead.
that what we're doing, the pattern of what you're describing is standard. So I have a long history of social action, and the pattern is classic. That discrediting,
Yes.
that's what they do. But you just
Yeah.
keep on going because like my favorite expression is God says, just do what I tell you to do. I'll take care of the rest. So it's like, never
Yeah.
mind if they don't like you. Never mind if
When I started standing up for myself, and when these smear campaigns were going on, it was used against me for standing up for myself. But isn't that what we're fighting for? Is freedom of speech and to protect yourself, to protect others? So the hypocrisy that I see going on, is just too much. So
Yeah.
we can get off the screen and we can go back to our video here now of us.
Okay. There we go. I'll bring myself on screen too. Well, that was
Yeah.
very enlightening. I didn't even have any idea that that was specifically your, I just kind of had a vague idea of what you were doing, but this, I didn't know it was so specific to the mandates. I thought it was
It
related to, like the other stuff that you were doing related to your employer. But I'm like astounded that you wouldn't, that wouldn't have been taken on front and center. Front and center. What else did they have
And
going?
nobody
They
else in
didn't even-
Canada asked.
They didn't
Like
even have
literally
any
nobody.
demand. They didn't even have a demand letter or anything. They didn't have anything going on except their nonsense. And that was deliberate. That was deliberate.
Well,
And then-
that's another conversation we're going to get into, but yes, it was very deliberate.
Yeah,
And I watched it. I watched it as an outside observer.
Yeah.
I became friends with people on the inside.
Yeah.
But I was literally an outside observer that did not have allegiances to this or that or
Yeah.
anything. I don't have any political allegiances. I don't have any of that stuff. I'm just a guy from the mountain
Yeah.
that happens to have other skills. I mean, I was hired by billion-dollar corporations for my knowledge.
Yeah.
But when COVID happened, and I've won awards and everything else, when COVID happened, you know that all the good people that that have this kind of knowledge became nobody, nothing.
Yeah.
You're nothing now.
Yeah. Well,
Okay. And you can't
think-
let them can't let them do that. You have to stay on them.
yeah.
So when
I
people
think-
think that I'm attacking people, I am not. I am calling you out on your hypocrisy. I am calling out every one of these alternative media as well. I expect it from CBC. I expect it from CTV. I do not expect it, however, from the people that like to say that they're fighting for rights and freedoms and will not focus on actual documentation from the DOJ, the OIC, the courts, the RCMP. This is not bullcrap work like a lot of them like to say.
Well, what we're focusing on right now is consent from the people to, for the proper officials through their legitimate authority to make legitimate arrests, okay? Because we've been told they have the information, they have the names, they have the duty, they have the right, because parliamentary privilege. So we're saying, do it. That's all the petition says. When I put it up, I got 2,000 signatures in about a day and a half, and all the friggin' control doc just came up, like all the rocks turned over and they all came out, attacked me. That's why I went off for about 2 weeks.
I actually seen the shift where they were trying to use you.
Yeah.
And then they all of a sudden attack you. They
Yeah.
did the same thing with me.
Yeah.
They tried to coerce me, they tried to bribe me, they tried tried all these things. But you know
Yes.
what? I
Yeah.
am unbribable, I'm
Yeah.
uncoercible, I'm just a citizen like you.
Yeah, exactly. But I have a really kind of strong faith, not kind of strong faith. I have a strong faith. So when they do that, I think, oh, I got on the right track there. When they're ignoring me, that's more disturbing. When they're up in my face and calling me names and do all that means I've got something going on, and I don't stop.
Well,
I just keep going, and I've had
exactly.
we'll have to sit
But
down.
it's funny that
and I'll tell you, just
it's
maybe
funny that these people will if you say anything or you call out any bad behavior, they're right on top of you. Everybody's right on top of you.
Yeah.
But then you see people like Chris Barber.
Yeah.
He literally uses all of his energy, all of his platforms to attack people.
Yeah, I know.
That's all you see.
But he's
And
a
you
little
can't see,
shy.
but
he's
do
a little
you
shy of
see
being little.
anybody in the freedom community holding him to account?
Oh.
Community holding him to account?
You know,
No, because they're scared.
no, I've done many, Dana, many, and he hides from me. Seriously, I can
He
dig it up.
blocks.
No,
If you say anything about him, he blocks you. He will try to
no, I'm not saying he doesn't do those
cut you
things,
down.
Dana. I'm not saying he doesn't do that. He does. I saw today. I saw a bunch of stuff from him. But I said with me, same as what's his name went after me, Colin Big Bear. He made
Yeah,
a
yeah.
some guy asked for, but he shut up and took it all down because I've got a really like thick skin for
Yeah,
one,
yeah.
and
We
I've got
have
a
the
quick
same
wit,
problem sometimes.
and I have a quick wit. So when they do it, I'm like, and I'm a street fighter, right? So I'm like, come on, let's go, And then I just slump them. I slump them, and they go gaga and fuck off. And Chris Barber,
Well,
yeah, I
there
have
is what's called
many,
a
many
big,
statements I've made about him. Many statements. And he just like he
yeah.
probably badmouths me behind my back and stuff like that, but he doesn't have the nerve to come out and say Jade Scarf, blah blah blah. Okay, he's too
Yeah, yeah.
and the same with Colin.
Actually, all he did with me, he used me in one of his TikToks when I was traveling across the country with Freedom Tour. We stopped, and it was the first time I met him. He did a TikTok with me. Oh, this is Peace Man, blah blah blah. And then months later, when the first anniversary was coming up, we actually had many meetings with Zoom meetings with different parties and stuff, trying to do something for the first anniversary.
Yeah.
But what happened there was that they actually got everybody distracted with different things. Let's move it to Winnipeg. Let's pay $300 a night to go and see Christine Anderson, which had, promised that she was only coming to meet Canadians in Canada. But by the time she left, she was making she was challenging our prime minister.
Yeah.
Now, did she ask her parliament to be able to challenge our parliament? Okay. These were bad things that were happening, but everybody was so stuck in these people are fighting for rights and freedoms that they don't see the mind games going on.
Yeah.
And these are globalist mind games
yeah.
that are going on.
Like I say, I've been around the block many times, kicking and
Yeah,
screaming.
yeah.
So I have a pretty good radar. Not perfect because I got whatever sucked in by a number of them.
Well,
but
I
do
I
have a
use
pretty good
I
track
use
record.
you and I as I will use you and I as an example, like I said the other day. The first time that we met, because I had taken JCCF on as a payee, not as my lawyers, but we didn't even get to that. We didn't see eye to eye, and our first meeting was not good.
No.
And it didn't go good for a little while. But that's because but Jane, you have really changed some of your ways, and it's been beautiful to see.
No, I haven't changed any of my ways, Dana. I'm
No,
71
but you
years
know
old.
what? Not once during this thing, because you know that I don't like swearing, have you sworn once. You know what I mean?
I mean,
So
I haven't given up swearing. Let's put it that way. I haven't changed.
I know, but you have respect, is what I'm saying. And we have that amongst each other. Okay. And it took time, is what I'm saying. We're not always going to agree on things, but we can definitely, here, Jane, here's my papers. What do you think? And I look at yours, and
Yeah.
we can do that
Yeah,
now.
of course. Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
And
Yeah,
that's what everybody is supposed to
don't think I
do in a
changed.
civil manner.
My view, very little change. I'm pretty consistent, and I think I'm on point most of the time, and I will modify when somebody brings me something that shows me that I need to adjust. I adjust midstream, and I even like it. I don't have that kind of go where I have to be right and all that. I don't have it. You can talk to anybody that works with me, all ongoing. I don't have that. I like it, like especially if I'm over and somebody shows me something and it's over. Whoa, I love it. And I'll just run over.
Well, you
it.
didn't know the complexities of what I was actually doing on this ATIP. And
I
this
didn't
is
know any of
very
this.
interesting
I
because
didn't know any of this.
neither do a whole lot of other people because the attention span is not there. They're not really understanding what I was doing.
Well, it was
So
never
I
presented.
was actually asked to write it in 1,800 words or less.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to do that very recently, and we'll see where that goes. But yeah, a lot more eyes will see it very soon.
I also would like to put a page on Trudeau for Treason, like your page on there, so that when people scroll down, they can go on your page and then get onto your site.
Sure, you
Yeah.
can put a link. I've got your link already. I actually have a whole bunch of other groups'
Yeah.
links on my site.
Well, I
I've
think
offered
I would
I've
like-
offered people like whistleblowers like David Drover or Kirk Reese to give them their own pages on my site because
Yeah.
my site is unlimited. I
Yeah.
can have as many files on there as I want.
Yeah. Good.
Okay.
Good. Yeah.
So
I don't know if mine's limited or not, but I want to put a page on for this, and so you can scroll down and see the top.
and you know, one thing that I didn't like about the protest in 2022 was how many people thought that it was a business opportunity. You know, and just how many businesses have come up from that. And that's not what we went there for as Canadians. So none of my social media, none of my YouTube page, my website, none of it is monetized. Absolutely nothing. I've never sold an item, even though some of these people say, oh, he sells this, he sells that. I never have.
Yeah.
Live from the Shed had put my face on T-shirts and stuff and said that they were donating that money to truckers. So I allowed that, and I never took it. Actually, I went onto their store and bought my own face at full price. Okay. And I gave those things away at speeches that I did for people that supported. You know, I gave away T-shirts and mugs and different things, and I never sold any of it.
Yeah.
So these are all
I
lies.
thought that they were cops. Those guys, they look like cops, undercover cops.
No, Dave was a really good guy, but they did such a smear
Cops can be
campaign,
really good
and
they can be really good cops, but they were undermining, and redirecting, trying to redirect. Like
Well,
for example, I'll give
Dave,
you
Dave
one-
was
one-
not.
Dana?
Dave was very smart.
Is he the main guy, Dave in the Shed? Is that was the main guy?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
he's not, he's a cop, he might be a nice guy, but nice guys have nothing to do with it. It's their job. The one thing that they were doing was, we, 1 week after, there was still a shitload of people in jail. And so that's where I met V. We went to a meeting and we thought, we need to do something to support people. And somebody suggested, well, there's a march on Saturday, so why don't we tell those people that we'd like them to go to the jail afterwards? And the vast majority of the people in the room, yes, let's do it. And it's one of the best protests I ever saw. It was all generic. Like V just decided to make a flyer, he just did it and passed it around. Somebody made a big banner and we just did it. We never had a meeting and delegated. Everybody just did whatever. And it all came together really nicely. But the Shed was one of the ones that was telling people, oh, don't go to the jail. That's the worst thing you can do. And Jerome is another one. Or what was his? He changed his name a couple of times. I think.
Oh, I find they really love to change their name a lot, like that that
And they were-
fake guy.
They were advocating not to go to the jail. That's the worst possible thing you can do. And it was the best, one of the best things, because it gave hope to the people in it, put pressure also. Tamara got out on the Sunday We went on this, or Monday rather, we went in on the Friday. Or no, we went in on Saturday and she got out on Monday. Because it raised, like a lot of the discussion was on her and why is she in there and all that.
Yeah.
And let her out.
Well, we should have talked tonight about when I went to court. By the way, did anybody know that when I showed up to court, no judge showed up to try me ever? I had a trial scheduled for 2 years where I'm labeled a criminal, and when I was ready to show up to court, no judge showed up the first day and they remanded. No judge showed up the second day and they remanded. And then I got a call saying that the Crown withdraws. And I didn't even get
One of
my
the-
day in
one of
court.
the-
I never got one.
One of
I
the
never got one word.
Yeah, one of the factors that
And
might
I had a 17-page charter challenge that was airtight.
charter challenge airtight.
I
Second
did. I
one,
did.
The courts were saying an emergency is a good enough reason to override your rights. That came out several times in charter challenges.
Yeah, but no, I want you to read it.
will,
It's
I will.
on my site for download.
Okay,
It's on my site for download. And in number 63, it says that if you try this man, you will be putting your court into disrepute. Now, every judge and even our prime minister was emailed a letter before my case from somebody else saying, if you try this man, you will be putting your court case in your courts in disrepute.
well,
And I did not even know about that person,
Yeah.
but they did this.
Yeah.
And then they recorded all the responses from even our prime minister on that correspondence.
yeah. Well, one of the big factors I think that was in your favor is that you had so much notoriety. So had they set a trial date, it would have ballooned. And you were not.
I don't think so.
operating-
I think that the fear campaign and the smear campaign by that time had already worked so well on the people that still no media would show up. None of them would
You're-
question this. No.
Well, it wasn't a charter challenge that saved your ass. It might have been your
I
persistence.
know. It
Yeah.
was something else. I know for a fact. I know
Probably your
that they did
persistence.
not want to bring me into the courtroom because I had reason to be standing there. I was using the citizen tools. I never
Yeah.
broke a law
Yes.
on purpose. I
that-
had nothing to do with any convoy or anybody that was there.
Yeah.
I made sure that I explicitly said that I was in personal, peaceful
Yeah.
protest.
Yeah.
And so many different things. Okay. There's a lot of reasons why they did not take me to trial.
Well, they knew by all of this stuff that you weren't gonna take deals and you were not gonna go away. You know what I mean? Like they would have to eat
Do
their.
you know they offered me 5 different deals at 5 different times, and I kept saying, my lawyer was even trying to get me to take these deals.
Yeah.
And it turns out that my lawyer ends up and is still on the Chris and Tamara team.
Yeah.
My lawyer.
Yeah.
I had her before they did.
Yeah.
Okay. But when the JCCF did their little funny thing, they also gave her 25 freaking cases.
Yeah.
To pad her pockets.
Yeah.
You know.
People
So
that.
anyways,
Yeah.
our meeting tonight was beautiful. I hope people learned a lot about ATIP, about using citizen tools, because we're being deceived in our medias on both sides, on all sides. It's
Oh, I
all being
apologize.
deceived.
There was somebody that wanted to ask a question and then you were talking and I forgot to get to her. So the person
Oh, well, go ahead.
The person that wanted to ask the question, can you come back and ask the question? So sorry I didn't get to you. If you're still on.
Yeah, hi, it's Sharon.
Hi, Sharon. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Now I'm asking this question not to be inflammatory or whatever, but I'm genuinely curious to know what the issue is against Maggie Hope Brown.
Can you talk into your mic a little closer, kind of muffly?
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I have had problems with my microphone. Is that better?
Yes, it's a bit better, yeah.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
can't hear.
My question is, I'd like to get your take on what the problem is with, what Maggie Hope Braun is doing.
I can answer that. Do you want me to answer that?
I-
Yeah. Well,
You go
first-
ahead because
yeah,
Heather
I
won't
that
like
won't
my
take long.
answer.
Doesn't take long. And first time I saw her video, one of her videos, she was making a statement that we used to have a really good constitution and a really good Bill of Rights. But since Mulrooney signed the 2021 agreement, I think it was in 1992, we became a satellite country to the UN and we lost our national sovereignty. So that was one. And the second one was she was showing her approach, like she's asking people to follow her, and she's got her methodology, putting out her methodology. And the second video was called Speak Truth to Power. And the way it was presented is that ICLEI is the power. She conveys that she doesn't like it, and she's got KICLEI, which is against it, and it's, you know, whatever. But in her
I have something to add.
okay, in her presentation, she's conveying that they are the power, and what they're presenting to us is that they're replacing our city hall. They've put a CEO in place, and they're making land, what do they call it? Land planning and that sort of thing. And they're the ones sort of orchestrating and pulling all the pieces together with the 15-minute cities, all that stuff. So they're clearly invading our country. And Maggie Braun, instead of saying, what is this foreign body on our soil pretending that they have the legal right to do any of this, much, you know, much less, you know, be an authority or be a power. They're not a power. Our
but-
Constitution did not give Mulrooney 1 ounce of authority to sign an agreement to give the store away. How can that happen? With one man in the whole country, because, oh, well, that's it. Now we'll just be a satellite. And then her method, I'm almost done. Her method of dealing with ICLEI is to set up a independent or a private town hall. Like, she's not encouraging, she wasn't then, and she shifts around a bit, but what I first got on her about, she was saying she wants these independent town halls, and that her and Kellyanne Wolf were given a space, $7,000 a month space for free to conduct these town halls. And in these town halls, she would invite your counselors to come to these town hall meetings. And then when they come there, you're supposed to tell them, for example, that you don't like 15-minute cities. And then those counselors are going to go back to ICLEI, and they may or may not get to talk to ICLEI. It's up to ICLEI, because that's an unelected whatever, and they make their own rules. And if they want to let your counselor talk, well, then they can talk. But once they say, even if they said, every single person in this entire city does not want 15-minute cities, the structure of ICLEI is they could say, well, too bad, you're getting it anyway. So that's what I call chasing your tail. And she's presenting herself as a grassroots organizer. And she's getting you to chase your tail round and round and round while they encroach further. And this approach is also demoralizing people, making people think, oh, they do have power. Oh, Mulrooney gave them that power. Oh my God. So that's the primary thing. She also goes into various, like, she goes right across the country, flying around all the time, and she'll go into groups that are trying to organize against the land grabs. And she'll tell them, oh, well, don't be confrontational and don't use courts because that's confrontational. She's got better methods. So just, put that aside and don't be confrontational. Don't go into the city hall saying, what the hell are you guys doing? Why taking our land, all that? No, that's confrontational. You need to go over in her private, well-run meeting over here, and just get your counselors to quietly come in and tell them, very softly that you don't want 15-minute cities. And there you go. There's her plan. That's not a plan.
Well-
That's helping the enemy. And she does it systematically. If like somebody that's not truly paid and involved doesn't do things like that systematically, she's systematically doing it. Everything she says, everything she does, and it's like it never changes. The ones that are just not bright or something, they go all over the map. Like today, they'll be doing something that's in your favor. The next day, they're doing something stupid, and the next day, they're doing something that's actually against you. That's what ill-informed or those kind of people, but not her. It's systematic. And she has a UN background. She ran for the Canadian Action Party that incorporated the objectives of the UN as their base platform. And they said, and then their candidates could do whatever else their constituents want after they accept the 4 pillars, they call it, and their UN. And she also bragged in her profile that she was on their local 2030 committee. So that's a UN committee in her city. So
Well, if I can,
yeah, okay, I'm done.
yeah, I've never heard of the town hall meetings or
I went to one.
or I've heard.
Can
of
I,
the
can I say something on it?
$7,000.
Yeah, go ahead, Dean.
Yeah, I mean, I believe you, I just never heard of them. so
Okay.
I don't know, what kind of a profile they had. I know that
Well,
a lot of what you're saying about Ickley, that is what she is saying, and perhaps she had some connection with the UN in the past, but she certainly is not on that track now.
Well,
she
I
has had
didn't say
some-
she's on that track now. I said this is the background, and then I talked specifically on the track she's on now. And the track that she should be on is the 15-minute cities violates almost every right that we have. And we do have rights, and we do have a constitution, and we do have a Bill of Rights. That's what she needs to be telling people, not the opposite of that. And it certainly doesn't help anybody to tell them that they have no rights. I mean, come on. you
I
even-
haven't heard her say.
Well,
of the
Okay, am I a
thing-
liar?
can I,
Am I a liar?
Can
No,
I
I'm just saying
respond
that
a-
I have not
a
heard
little
her
bit
say
here?
that, and I haven't been
Okay,
following
if
her
you've
since
already
the
made up your
beginning.
mind that you like what she's doing and you like what she's saying, and you're not interested in responding to specifically what I say, then we
I
gotta
am
stop this
responding
discussion now. We
specifically
gotta
to
stop this discussion now because it's not productive. You didn't want to hear, you just
well,
blocked.
I can actually show
No,
you
I
something.
heard
I
what
want
you
to
said.
say something on this. Can I
Okay,
say something on this?
yeah, go ahead.
Now, there's something I didn't want to really get into tonight, but there is one page on my website that has more information than any other page. And it is called the acceptable page. Because remember the film that was put out there called Unacceptable? Okay. Now, when I seen that and I experienced all of this stuff that we were going through, on that page, halfway down, there is a copy of the person that you're talking about, her own personal page. On that page, it says the solution to globalism is localism. And there's a picture of her page there and how she
Yes.
tried to use me.
Yes. Mhm.
And one of the things that she says is that they are having thoughts of civil disobedience coming soon. And they show a picture of a whole bunch of those actors. I hate to tell you, but that should give you a little, if you read that, that'll give you a little bit of more insight into what they think personally. And it goes against, it is absolutely in contradiction to what they are saying.
And I
So
have
it's
I have a
on her
video.
own page.
I have a video that she took. She was doing a live and she was having a confrontation with Rebecca Shepherd. And she said, Rebecca, you called me a revolutionary. And Rebecca said, no, I didn't. I said that you were recommending a group that's talking about exiting the system, and that's revolutionary. And I asked you if you support that. And she said, well, so what if I do? We need a non-violent revolution, right out of her own mouth. So if you want that video,
Well,
I
this
can
is
send you
really
that, but there's
dystopic.
no discussion there. If you
What,
think
what
it's
you're
okay,
saying
Yeah.
is really dystopic because it has, none of that has been
I'll give you the tape. It's off her own. She took the video herself. It was
Yeah,
on her live.
I would like
She
to
took it
see
down, but I screenshotted it, so I can send you
go,
the thing.
out of character.
What?
Yeah, but I'd like to chime in here very briefly.
Oh.
This whole idea about ICLEI, who is an unelected body, they're not even in Canada. They're like,
And
there's
that's
some,
what she says, but
I
they
know, so
are
they,
influencing our local governments, our local municipalities. That's who they're influencing.
hey, please don't cut me off. They do not hold any influence over, like, they have no legal contractual.
Yes, but we know the difference between.
No, but
legal and
you're assuming that Maggie's entire thesis is correct. They have secret, unchecked influence over our elected mayors or municipal councilors. That is simply not true. And if our municipalities, councilors or mayors are influenced by third parties who are alien to Canada, like ICLEI, we can hold our councilors and mayors directly accountable and fire them, not elect them, and take them to court for illegally conspiring treasonous activities with parties outside of Canada. However, what you may not realize is this is a trope, which is an artifice, a Trojan horse, to confuse the freedom movement to thinking we need to take this fight locally at the municipal level, when the reverse is true. We need to hold the people who are making the big decisions, that is the federal government and the Ontario government. We have to hold the big guys accountable. So this is trying to divert you into the weeds to fight the small fish and not fight the big fish. We need this fight to take Trudeau at the executive level, at the federal level, in Parliament, in front of the whole country. Getting some counselor fired because they're listening to ICLEI and asking, like, Maggie's solution is to have a meeting with them in secret or in a town hall and ask them politely not to do what they're doing. It's even her solution is ridiculous. You have to analyze, you have to realize this ICLEI thing is a psyop. It really is. That's all I have to say.
Well, I know ICLEI is a psyop, and that's why KICLEI is against it. What you said about the big fish and the small fish, I think there's a place for us to come against all the fish on all levels, and we can't all be aiming in the same direction because we're not all at the same level of knowledge or understanding or ability. So I agree that the big fish have to be attacked or confronted, brought to justice. You know, I agree with that. Trudeau for treason, for sure. But, you know, I think people are doing it on various levels where they're able to and where they're at.
What we're trying to do here, Sharon, from what Dana showed you, we're trying to use the democratic legal tools that we have. So it's not conducive to have people saying we're a satellite of the UN and we don't have any tools.
And,
That's not,
and
No,
the
but our
accountability
government
tools
has
that are
signed
built
on with the
into
UN.
these things.
I mean, they have
Exactly.
signed agreements with the UN. That is true. We do still have our sovereignty as a nation, but
well, then ICLEI should just be told, get off the property. We shouldn't be learning how to deal with
First of all,
ICLEI.
well, that's what
tonight's
what they are doing. They're trying to
presentation,
get counselors to understand how they have been infiltrated.
Well, they need to be taken to account. They need to be confronted. They need to be sued. Not gently.
and first of all,
Let's
Yeah,
have
well,
a
who
tonight's
has
show-
money, who has money to sue all these people?
It doesn't cost money. It costs $108.
They're trying
well,
to.
actually, I'm gonna
$108,
cut in, I'm gonna cut in.
$108.
I'm going to cut in here. Tonight's whole thing is about using the citizen tools to hold accountability.
Yeah.
And
And how
how
is that
this,
working for you?
It's working very well.
And-
actually.
it's working. I'm actually a guy that's actually got federal review happening without paying a cent.
Yes.
Okay, because I'm forcing them when I catch them to start using the accountability part of those tools against them. And I'm not one that wants to go and sue and do all of this in court. I'm actually trying to get people to understand that we have accountability tools within our citizen tools. And people are not using them because of these distractions about illy and natives and all of this other stuff.
They don't know about the tools. That we don't know about the tools.
Exactly. That's what this show is about. This show is not about Maggie Hope Braun and what she's doing. And this is about what Trudeau for treason, and what Peaceman is doing tonight.
And
So that's what this show is about tonight.
And my
And-
petition doesn't cost anything to sign the petition and promote the petition. That's using our system. That's using our tools.
Exactly.
That's not a lot.
How have all these petitions, like I've signed?
It's not a
signed
regular
hundreds of
petition. It's
petitions.
more like a declaration. So the standard, petitions don't work. This petition has information
But-
in it. And if we do get enough people claiming that they give consent for the arrests, then the lower magistrates can do the arrests. So you need to look at it.
And you say, how are we doing? Well, did you listen to the presentation on the ATIP requests on the legal validity of the mandates? Like, this was a long discussion, and it's not.
I only connected with the Zoom late, so I missed the first part. I have been on your website and gave it a survey. I haven't gone in depth on it, but yeah, so unfortunately I
Well,
did.
tonight was about the ATIP page on my site. So there's a lot of information on my site because I do multiple investigations. Okay. So yes, people can get lost in there. But what we're focusing on tonight is the ATIP page and the King is Keeping Secrets, which is also another ATIP thing, and how we use these things and how effective that they have become, and using the OIC. And I just charged the DOJ with 4 crimes and they're validated. This is what we're talking about tonight, is using the citizen tools. So I appreciate what a lot of other people are trying to do. I've even tried to work with them and help them, but I actually seen the exact moment that that person that you mentioned tonight actually shifted a bit. And I'm not going to go into that tonight, and because that's not what this room is about tonight. So I appreciate your question on why. I don't know why that was the only question when we're asking people to ask questions about the
Well,
presentation.
I'm trying to understand more of where you're coming from. And I think my asking that question has allowed you to explain where you're coming from. So I think it has been helpful, you know, to understand like the dichotomy between, you know, what she is doing and where you're coming from, your point of view.
Mhm. We do have two other hands.
the four, you said you had four, what were they that had you just said that they've been given validation for, challenges?
No, on the ATIP page, I did a very important request in 2021, only a couple weeks after Justin Trudeau announced 2 federal mandates. The reason why many people went to Ottawa was because of these mandates. I had already done the work and asked our Department of Justice to prove that to provide the paperwork that they have had filed in the DOJ about the mandates. Were they legally sound? Because a government program cannot be instituted without it being found legally sound first. So all I did was ask for those documents. Nobody else in Canada did ask for those documents. And now, 2.5 years later, and many investigations, we now have a final report that reports that the DOJ is breaking the law and orders to the DOJ to correct their action. Also, what this report does is it initiates federal review. Federal review is something that we all want because it's different than a civil suit, okay? It's very different because I don't have to pay for it. We already, as citizens, pay for all of the accountability measures within our processes. And that's what we're talking about here tonight, is using those processes and believing in them. And because what we see, what Jane and I see, is that there's a whole lot of distractions out there that want you to believe that the cops are bad or systems don't work, all of these things, okay? But this is exactly the opposite of what actually is happening. So now we do have something to work with. We now have an official report. It's right at the top of my page on the ATIP page. And I really ask you to go and read it, because it's very important to see that the OIC has recognized that the DOJ is breaking the law several times. Now, what happens when a government employee breaks the law? And this is what I am exploring, and I am forcing them to hold accountability on these people that are purposely trying not to give the answers. There are ways that you can keep pushing and making big strides. Now, the other question that was posed earlier is, why didn't any of these bigwigs that people are donating millions of dollars to doing anything like this?
Or interest,
Because
or shown it.
look at all those platforms they have with 372,000 people, and what happens if you ask Chris Barber, you know, what is Freedom Corporation doing? Well, he says it's shelved. Well, what does that mean? So you know what I did? I go and I use my citizen tools. I go to the Corporations Canada website. I look up their corporation number, and I put in an application to get all of their filings for 2 years, and I received them. You can find them on my website. You don't have to go through it, because I am totally transparent on all of the work I do. And they don't like it. None of them like it that I am transparent. Why do they not like that I am transparent?
Do you think it's
Because it
possible?
actually shows that there is something nefarious going on.
Do you
And
think
that's
it's
all I'm going to tell
possible
you
that
about it tonight.
do you think it's possible that they just are not mentally capable of grasping what you're doing? Like they're just
Well,
not
first
at
of
that
all,
level
not
of
one of those,
understanding?
not one of the people that are on the board of directors of Freedom Corp even have enough uh, background or anything to be a director. Okay, they don't know the laws. Do you know that there's a law in the Corporations Canada that if you are a director and you receive any gifts, any money, that has to be registered with your corporation. Now, if you do not register it, or if you let's say a family member gives you a gift, now that can be still registered, but you register it as a family member gift, so then it gets taken away, and it gets regulated.
Right.
Now, these people have gone all over the country, all over the world, collecting money. And do you know how much Freedom Corp has filed since 2022?
No.
Zero. They have zero money. And
Also,
in
they
their
didn't
own
record-
words,
They didn't
in-
record their
in
cash
their-
and they didn't record their e-transfers. All they
they're
recorded,
still not.
I
Are
know.
they the
all
one,
They're
they
are
still
did
not.
they,
was
is that
GoFundMe.
is that
That's
the
it.
body that had all their donations seized?
Not all their
that the-
donations.
Listen,
There was
Listen,
some
we're not talking about money that is seized. We're talking about cash donations, about trips, about gifts, about the corporation's law. Okay, when you start a corporation, I've owned a corporation. That's why I know some of this stuff. I didn't want to break the law, so I go and I learn the Corporations Act. Okay, none of them have even read it. I can tell you that much. So let's stick to the citizen tools that we have right now, and the law will take care of those people. Trust me, and trust me, I'm not going to let them get away with it either. I'm not going to let our prime minister get away with treason, and I'm not going to let the people that are trying to persuade you not to listen to people that are using the citizen tools to get away with what they're doing. And it doesn't make me a bad person. It makes me a person with integrity in this country.
Yeah. Well, I don't know anything about what you've said about the maligning of you, because actually I'm not that familiar with your history or your presence at the convoy, etc. I mean, not in a dominant way. Like I understand that
Do you know?
You
everything.
read
Okay,
those
that-
4 orders, Dana, just that'll be really
Wait,
quick. Read those 4 orders off that report. It's very, you
Yeah.
can do that quickly.
and
That's so solid.
before I read these 4 orders, I'm going to tell you something. Do you know that I was the most photographed thing at that protest? I was featured on the front of almost every major media around this world, around the globe. But they don't want you to know that because they've put this big. I wasn't part of their plan. I wasn't part of their narrative. They didn't know that the guy that had been asking these questions was going to go and stand in peace. And you'll even hear some of these groups that worship goats. They will say you did nothing. All you did was stand in peace. But I'll tell you, I stood in symbolism. I stood on documentation. I stood with integrity and honor, and I remain that way to this day. I tried to work with people, and it was like jumping into a snake pit. And my father told me once, if you ever find yourself sitting at a table of snakes, get up and leave, You may get bit once or twice, but you're going to live to come back and clean that pit. And that's what we're doing here. And nothing I'm doing is against people fighting for freedom. Trust me, it is all for you. It is all for you using the citizen tools. And I'm going to read you these orders, the outcome of this. This is from the OIC, Office of the Information Commissioner, to the DOJ, Department of Justice. The complaint is well-founded because Justice improperly placed the access request on hold. Justice failed to meet its obligations to assist the complainant pursuant to Section 4.2.1. Justice is deemed to have refused access to the requested records under subsection 10.3. Now you realize that the ATIP Act, any act, is law. So our Department of Justice is found breaking the law, okay? And they didn't only put out a report, but they put out orders to the justice to correct their action. And those orders are to remove any holds placed on the processing of my request in 2021. They must provide a complete response because they never actually completed their response. They never responded. Provide the complainant every 6 months on the progress of processing the access request. So even though that we're going to get the document very soon that says these mandates were legal because of this, because this judge or this council or whoever did, nobody in Canada even knows who made them legal.
I don't think they are though. I don't think they are. We
They're
did some
not.
deep
They're not.
in
I
there.
can tell you, I know the ending of this. I know the ending. So
Yeah.
that, you know, when you figure out a problem and you ask the questions, you have to put yourself, work backwards from the ending to what you expect is going to happen, which is, for me, accountability. Okay. And then you work backwards. And you look at it every way as you're going through it. You question yourself. You write questions to yourself as if you're another person asking you the questions, because that's what's called thinking out of the box and critical thinking. If you can disprove yourself, then anybody out there is going to do it to you. So I have put this challenge out there. If anybody wants to challenge me on what I've done here, please, because not one person, not one in Canada, out of all of the people that I've told about this, lawyers, doctors, parliamentarians, not one of them will challenge me and say, listen, you've made a mistake here, or you've made a mistake here. Not one, because there are no mistakes. I know it for a fact, because this is a final report and orders. And it is incorrect. It is actually factually incorrect. And I'm even fighting them on this. So that's what I'm saying. These other distractions and things, I believed Maggie was my friend. Okay. I stood with her in the sub-zeros. Okay. And then I seen a change. And I seen when these people join together to gang up and attack on people and say, don't support that person. Well, that's exactly opposite of what we're fighting for. I want you to listen to everybody, even the people that do not agree with me. I want you to listen to them, because they're going to show you their contradictions. They're going to show you their hypocrisy over time. Time is the weapon. And now we have two other hands. Can we take Jacqueline?
Can you unmute, Jacqueline?
Yeah, I'm going to do that right now. There we go, Jacqueline. You should be able to speak. Are you there, Jacqueline? Do you still want to speak, Jacqueline?
Well, we could go to
I'm gonna
Manon
leave-
and then go back to her if she gets on.
Yeah. I'm gonna leave Jacqueline unmuted, and when she wants to come in, she can. And I'm gonna go to Manon.
Thank you very much,
You're on.
Dana. Yeah, I'm here. Yep, we talked extensively about controlled opposition, me and Jane and V. And also during the time when Jane was with Stanfordy, there was some people that I would name, and Rebecca would jump right away and say, "Oh no, controlled up, controlled up." And it took me a while to wrap my head around it, about what controlled up meant. And I was paying more attention to the different freedom groups message, and the freedom groups that I was involved in. There was a couple, and the more I went, and the more I could see the symptoms of controlled up. It's when, first thing, they try to shut you down when you come up with a potential solution.
Mhm.
Second, they kick you out of the group when you for stupid reasons. Like it happened to me with a group that I was with for a while, and it happened last summer actually, and I was with this group for about a year and a half, for sure. And what happened? The host, he was always, like he was like the guru in the group. And that one night, I just inquired about a member who didn't show up for the meeting, and I thought it was very strange that something could have happened to that member, because he was there every meeting. So I just asked, how come this member is not there? And then the host, like he lost his mind and said that it was none of my business. And then he didn't feel like arguing. Like I was simply responding, well, I was just inquiring. I don't want to argue tonight. Good night. Kick me out of the group. They are very flaky,
Miriam?
unpredictable. So that's these are what I call the gurus. They're at they are the ultimate, leader of a freedom group, and whatever, you cannot have a decent discussion unless they are right all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Or they want praise.
they're egotists.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well,
Egotistic.
actually, but they like to use the gaslighting and say that I'm all about ego. But you know what? I don't care what happens to me. I care about the documentation. I care about what I can prove that I am doing. But they don't want this information out. They do not want you supporting me. They do not want you supporting Jane. They do not want any of this out. I am fighting with even the OIC. They won't even make it public. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Oh no,
So
I know.
they don't want to make it public. So I actually use the system against them. I'm going to force them to make it public because, I was contacted by CBC 2 weeks ago. And because I had sent a letter to CBC telling them that I grew up watching CBC and listening to them. But in 2022, when I seen this absolute hypocrisy that was going on with the media in my face, then I had the actual personal experience that they were not doing their job correctly. I could take my word from other people, but I'm not that type of guy. I use my personal experience and then I put that into action. So I don't use this controlled op speech or any of that stuff. You don't see it on my social media, but I do say that we have actors in our country. And if you think that the young global leaders is the only class that they teach at that school, you are not paying attention. Okay? There's many other classes. This distraction about our government being influenced by other countries, I'm sorry, but it isn't any other country that's influencing our government. It is an entity. It is not another country. If Klaus Schwab says in 2017, he lists off and he starts speaking, he says, we are so proud of Putin being a young global leader. And then in his very next breath, he says, but we are so proud of our new young global leaders like Justin Trudeau. So if Justin and Putin are on the same team, why is Canada paying $6 billion for somebody else's proxy war? It has nothing to do with the religions and all of this stuff. This is the distraction. We all come down under one label. They want us to be a whole bunch of labels. They want black, white, religious, non-religious. They want you to fight about everything. But there's only one label, and that is human. They want you to forget that label, okay? And everybody else is the same as me. We are only human. I care for every human and every animal. That's the way I am. But I know that there's a lot of bad people out here that remember, every baby is born with the exact same knowledge. It is only what you teach that baby that makes us different, okay? And this has happened around the world with fanaticism and ideologies that are just absolutely wicked. But we have to get back to we are human. And that's what my work is about. And that's what we are talking about here today. So I know that there's a lot of actors. It's almost impossible to go against them. So don't. Okay? Keep going on with what you are doing, what you can prove. I don't want you to only follow my stuff. I want you to be putting in requests. I want you to be thinking critically
I have
and
one.
asking the basic questions.
I did that. I did that for the past 2 years with EI. Jane knows a little bit of that story, and Jane, and at the time, unfortunately, she couldn't help me with it because she had a lot on her plate. She was with Stanford and helped people, with their courts claims or charges, COVID charges. So I did it pretty much on my own for most of it, but I had the help of another lawyer, a retired lawyer, and he helped me a bit with that. But Jane's instruction, helped me more than anyone else that I had at the time.
Jane actually helped me learn something tonight. I have done all of this without one person giving me their feedback. Not one lawyer, not one doctor. Nobody has helped me. Okay. But Jane tonight actually gave me something very important that stuck in my head. And that is the justice. is responsible for doing a few things that they're not doing. I'm going to question her now. Now we're going to have a little bit of talk about this because I actually put something together already while we're in our conversation. I'm thinking critically on something, and she knows exactly what I'm getting at
Yeah, I do.
because I know she does. So you're right, Marion. You have to keep going forward. You can try to get your information out to people, but it's really, are people doing research? I hear a lot of people hail, do your research, but I see a lot of people fail because they're not.
Yep.
Um,
Well,
I
there's
also-
any
many,
other
many things.
questions or
many-
hands?
One
Yep.
thing I could, oops, I lost my screen. One thing I could point out, in March 2022 is when we started making allegation of treason because we made an incident report, criminal incident report, and we claimed that the mandates were done in conspiracy with foreign entities, right? Because there's documentation to that effect. And as well, the attack on the truckers was under the Anti-Terrorism Act because they brought in 32 busloads of police through the UN. So that means that in total, that is treason. So we started then, and we did use footage that we had. We have it's linked in the document, the HD drone footage that shows that everybody was kettled and there was not doing any, they were standing there drinking their morning coffee or whatever. There was no violence, there was no blockade, there was no occupation, nothing. And those videos show. So we called treason in March 2022. And then that was a big, it wasn't being talked about in any of these social media groups, wasn't being talked on mainstream media. The lawyers didn't come out and go, hey, there's treason going on there. We started that. Also, Bill of Rights was buried deep with lots of topsoil on top of it when we started. And we dug it up, lifted it up, waved it up, and it flew. It flew on its own steam because it's so beautiful. Once we took the top off the lamp, right, the genie popped out. So we are making progress. And I truly believe that the police didn't do the stay home orders because of the Bill of Rights. I did a letter campaign with a student, and we sent a letter to each chief of police, all 3 levels in Ontario. And it basically just said, are you going to do the stay home orders? If you are, by what authority do you have to override the Bill of Rights? And they already had the will. I'm not saying I made them want to not do it. They didn't want to do it, but I think they muckled on the Bill of Rights because with the charter, they would have had to do it because the charter does allow the government to override your rights if you have a good enough reason. And then it's not up to the cop to decide whether it's a good enough reason or not. Even the whole police force can't decide if there's a good enough reason. It has to go to a court. So I think they muckled right on. And I even have one element of proof. Peel County responded and they said,
Give me
"We
a second.
not-" Okay.
Okay, Jane.
Yeah, just one more
What
sentence.
were,
The
okay, go.
Peel County wrote a letter saying we are not going to do the stay home orders because we obey all the laws. The OPP sent a letter saying we are going to do the stay home orders and we will not be violating the charter. So big whip. We didn't ask about the charter. But then just about 2 days after the letter writing was like we sent mostly by fax and by email, all the different police services in Ontario started announcing we're not doing it, we're not doing it, we're not doing it. After about 4 or 5 days, Police Services Association put out a letter saying none of us are doing it. So that's progress. We would be deeper in the doo-doo if the police weren't taking these various stance They didn't do the shutting of the gatherings, except psyops, like Adamson Barbecue was not Toronto Police. It was off-duty police officers hired by public health. And it just make it look like they were doing it, but they didn't smash into people's house and drag them out in the street and lock the door the way the rinky dinky bylaws said. And they didn't do the stay home orders at all. And they weren't even shy about it. They were right out in the open saying, we're not doing it. And they're not picking up the guns all across Canada. Every single police, all levels, and the military are refusing to pick up the guns. How beautiful is that, people? Mainstream media won't talk about it. Social media doesn't talk about it. We do, but we're a lesser, voice.
You're absolutely right. But I want to bring something else to attention. One of the things I'm going to give you the secret on as to why my case was withdrawn is they made a lot of mistakes when they did this, okay? One of their mistakes is that in the disclosure, in my disclosure, they gave an arresting officer's name, but that arresting officer was actually the third person in line. In Canada, the officer that lays hands on you is the arresting officer. Now, you will see many, many pictures of my arrest, and you will see two Army folks that arrested me, that physically arrested me. Their names were omitted from my disclosure. Everything after the arrest, regardless of Section 1 of the Charter, regardless of anything after that illegal arrest, because they will not release those two Army personnel's names, was illegal. Now, here's the other mistake that they made. This is my arresting papers. Almost everybody that went to court that got arrested in these makeshift police stations. On this document, I'm going to read it, but it has one line that's very, very important. And that is CC 127-1, disobey lawful court order. Now, I will tell you that when I went to court and when I seen other people that received this exact same paper that says lawful court order, when I was being arrested in this makeshift room that was full of cameras, they said you were arrested because you broke the Emergency Act.
Yeah.
Now, they like to say that nobody was charged under the Act. Because if you look in the court cases, they dropped the word court. They said lawful order. And that to me is document manipulation. I brought it up to all of the lawyers, and I had this David, whatever his name is, that was up on the stage during that time saying, we are going to help you. We're going to give you free help if you are standing in peaceful protest and you get arrested. So I actually went on to Twitter and I went on to his page because he was the lawyer for a friend of mine, which was Jason Vandermeer. Now, Jay is a wonderful, wonderful man. His heart, he saved me and my life. And when his lawyer said, no, they dropped that because, and he didn't really give an excuse, but there was no lawful court orders at the time other than the EA, which they were putting out as a court order, but it was not. So they made a lot of mistakes, and they knew that if they pulled me into a courtroom, that I was going to pull this and the fact that there is no arresting officers on my file. Now, other people did have arresting officers on their file that actually touched them first. But there are some
Byron
that
did.
did not.
Byron didn't. They wouldn't identify.
Exactly. So it's these small little things like one word that makes a huge difference to what you are fighting. Okay? And you as the person, or me, my rights were taken away. I was born in Ottawa. That's my birth city. I was not allowed to enter, and my rights of freedom of travel were taken away for 2 years. I cannot afford to bring them, and no lawyer will help me. Not even if I pay them will they try to help me hold accountability now, because all of the lawyers are retained already. Okay? All of them.
Well, we're doing small claims court.
Yeah.
So
And to me, I would claim $1,700 a day for 365 times 2. That's $2.2 million. That's not a small claims. I would need a proper big case for that.
well,
I can't afford to
bird in the
do
hand.
that.
Bird in the hand, Dana. Bird in the hand.
Well, soon I will have my own money to do it.
Yeah.
Hopefully, because I am a government employee.
Yeah.
And I've been in court with them for 7 years. Do you know how much that lawyer bill is? Well, I'll tell you, it's upwards of $483,000. And I've never asked anybody for help, and it's paid. Okay? I don't have anything left, but it's paid. And I'm still fighting. I'm actually one step away from Supreme Court right now. Okay? So when people say that that guy's stupid, he doesn't do anything, all he does is attack people, blah, 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 there is a reason for it, but it isn't because I'm any of those things. Okay? So any other questions? I got to kind of end this soon.
Yeah, me too.
Anybody? I don't see any hands.
No.
Well, I want to thank Jane.
I thank you. This was
I
very
think that
enlightening,
this was
very enlightening.
it was very enlightening. I hope it taught some people some stuff about what's going on in Canada, how to use your own voice, and don't let them stop you. Don't let them step on you. Don't let them abuse you or use you. And stand up to your integrity. You know, hold that accountability, use those citizen tools. And if they give you, like I said, my complaints to the OIC were invalidated 5 times. Did I give up? I did not take no for an answer because I knew I was right through the documentation.
And
So
my-
that's what we
one of
need
my
you to do.
sayings- One of my sayings is, you can't lose if you don't give up.
Exactly. That's
Only
very
lose
good,
when you
Jane.
give up. Yep.
Very good. Yeah. So with that, I'd like you to end it up here, Jane, and I want to thank everybody for tuning in. This was not about it was only about using your citizen tools, using your voice, and don't be scared of people, okay? We're all fighting for our rights and freedoms as people.
And remember the old saying also, sticks and stones.
Yeah.
For
It
them
bounces
guys,
off me.
And the
I
stuff
got
they
thick skin.
say is so middle school. You know what I mean? Like they don't like logically challenge something that you're saying or something.
Barber, the director,
It's
fights
just
with memes.
middle school stuff. Anyways, I'm gonna end now. So hashtag we got this, and thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dana.
We got this.
We'll have the chance to discuss on another day because
We'll have
there are a couple things you said that I need to comment on, but not tonight, on another time.
We'll have Dana back.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, good
We
night,
got
all.
this.
We got this.
Good night.
Good
We
night.
got this.
Good night. Okay. And